My dad made me choose one of the 10 goddesses to marry. This video is purely for entertainment and does not violate copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and the image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Chapter 201. Leave it to me. Fen Lin walked over with an unhappy expression. What are you doing here? I'm here to give you flowers. Zhang Yueming raised the flowers in his hand. Who? Zhao King. Yes. It's her, Zhang Yueming admitted generously. I found you looking for a fight. Zhao King is my girlfriend. Get out of here right now. Fen Lin pointed at Zhang Yueming, who was dating Zhao King. What kind of good person can he be? You don't have much money, you have a bad temper, and you are not married. Why can't I chase you? Zhang Yueming tore off his ears in disdain and pointed to his Porsche. Do you know what kind of car? You can pay any amount of money to touch up the paint. I'll buy you one. After saying that, he entered the company with a smile. He still didn't believe that a girl who had just entered society could resist such an offensive. Sir, do you need me to kill you? The woman next to him asked softly. No, just come in. If he killed someone just because of this incident, he would be too uneasy. It is already noon, and there are only a few people on duty in the company lobby, and the rest are preparing for lunch. Zhao King is no exception. King. Good afternoon, can you have lunch with me today? Zhang Yueming saw Zhao King appear and immediately walked over with flowers. The other employees around him were envious when they saw this. I saw him a moment ago. He was driving a sports car. It looked like a Porsche 911. Really or not? That kind of car costs several million. It's very annoying. Oh, it's just a matter of appearance. These rich second generations are like this. I like cool and fresh beauties like Manager Zhao. Many people around were watching Zhao King, and they all knew that Zhao King would definitely agree. The dream of many women is to marry into a rich family. Even if you get divorced in the future, you can still get a lot of wealth. I don't want to eat with you. I have a boyfriend. Please leave. Zhao King frowned and looked very ugly. He has no interest in these rich second generations. If he had been, he wouldn't have broken up with Li Lei in the first place. When everyone around heard this, they all looked surprised. How can it be? Zhao King refused now. However, since she said that she has a boyfriend, maybe he is worth more than this rich second generation. I know your boyfriend is fake. I really like you. This is definitely not just for fun. We can get married. Zhang Yueming seemed sincere. He didn't believe that a rookie in the workplace could stop his offense. At this moment, Fen Lin entered. When Zhao King saw Fen Lin, she immediately walked over and took Fen Lin's arm. Naturally, Fen Lin knew what was going on. He walked towards Zhang Yueming and pointed at his face. Don't make me angry. I'm already very rational. Haha. What's the point of being angry? You know what? As my family do it. You do not. Do you dare to hit me? Zhang Yueming raised his face in disdain. In this world, the rich are the bosses. He didn't believe that this kid would still dare to hit him. Boom. Fen Lin kicked him in the stomach. The flowers in Zhang's hands Yueming flew away and his body rubbed against the smooth ground. He rubbed for more than 10 meters and hit the pillar behind. Zhang Yueming's eyes were so painful that he clutched his stomach and shouted, "You bastard! How dare you hit me? What's wrong with bullying my girlfriend? Did I hit you?" Fen Lin put his hands in his trouser pockets and walked over. Expressionlessly, go or not? Okay. Very good. I'll remember you. Zhang Yueming growled darkly. He covered his stomach and stood up from the ground. When he reached the door, he didn't forget to look at Fen Lin, wishing he could kill Fen Lin. King, are you okay? Fen Lin asked with a smile. I'm fine. Zhao King shook her head. That's good. You go about your business first. After Fen Lin finished speaking, he led the woman behind him to the president's office. Seeing Fen Lin leave, several people picked up the flowers scattered on the ground and took the opportunity to gather around Zhao King. Manager Zhao, your boyfriend is very handsome. Where do you work? What kind of job? Manager Zhao's boyfriend must run a company. Zhao King shook his head. Fen Lin was a soldier, and still is. They performed tasks. He definitely couldn't tell others about this kind of thing. My boyfriend, he is a regular deliveryman. We are classmates and have known each other for a long time, Zhao King explained. Hearing this, all the male employees around her looked envious. This kind of woman who was willing to live a simple life and is not blinded by money can't be found now even if I hold a lantern. What's more, Zhao King is highly valued by the president and her future prospects are obviously a wider world, but he chooses to stay with her previous boyfriend Fen Lin. The door of the CEO's office, Zhu Wen was at her desk, studying what to do next. Yan Yubai was lying on a sofa, playing with her mobile phone. Seeing Fen Lin coming in, Zhu Wen rubbed her temples and exhaled. What's wrong? I'll give you a bodyguard and introduce myself. Fen Lin smiled and patted the woman behind him. She is probably about 30 years old, normal looking, and not very tall. They gave people a strong feeling of oppression. Hello, my name is Sato Yin. The woman nodded toward Zhu Wen. I am Zhu Wen. Zhu Wen also noticed that this bodyguard gave people a different feeling. In comparison, Yan Yubai looked like a child. Okay, you two get along well. Lao Qi, come back to me. Fen Lin looked at Yan Yubai on the sofa. Yan Yubai stood up with a smile. Fen Lin took Yan Yubai to the villa area and stopped in front of the door diagonally in front of Zhu Wen's villa. Several people from the Night of Death, as well as Yi Shen Yudan, were in the courtyard. Yan Yubai jumped out of the car and saw Jinggu Jiqihui in the distance at a glance. She ran over excitedly and shouted from a distance, "Fifth sister! Seventh sister!" Jinggu Jiqihui also hugged her happily. Fen Lin stuffed his pants pockets and walked over with a smile. In the dark night, everything is finally in order. But things are different and people are different. You have nothing to do here. Jinggu Jiqihui looked at the people around him. Yes, master. The remaining 9 masters dispersed and entered the villa. Yi Shen and Yi Dan were too embarrassed to bother them, so they also entered the villa to give a few people a sector of space. The 5 people sat around the round stone table and talked. By the way, I will give you a gift. Eat it. Fen Lin took out the fire lotus seeds from his body and handed them to Jinggu Jiqihui. Jinggu Jiqihui didn't even look at it and put it directly into his mouth. As long as it was something given by Fen Lin, he would not hesitate no matter what it was. Boss, do you want to transfer those 2 people from the 9 Nethers, the Wei family and the King family? Yan Yubai asked with a smile. No, their low strength will not affect the overall situation. Keeping them will always work. Fen Lin smiled and stretched his legs. He was about to say something when his eyes suddenly looked into the distance. Several other people also followed him and looked into the distance. The corners of Fen Lin's mouth raised slightly. Isn't it? Has this time come? Boss, who are these people? Jinggu Jiqihui asked strangely. They should at least be here to arrest someone. The opponent's strength lies in various realms of transformation. Therefore, it was not Zhang Huiming who shouted before. He was still not that capable. It was almost certain that Liu Yunyan had called these people. Let me see you as soon as you get here. Leave it to me. Jinggu Jiqihui opened the guitar bag on the floor and took out a pitch-black sword from inside. Chapter 202 Magic Software. Men Changsheng smiled and took out his cigarette case. Oh, I can't do my job. After all, the world belongs to you young people. Fen Lin rolled his eyes and said nothing. But this group of people really knew how to choose the right time, and they appeared just when they were partying and chatting on the Night of the Dead. It's so disrespectful. Oh. Several people with different expressions jumped into the courtyard of the villa. These people were all wearing caps and masks, and only one pair of eyes could be seen. Yi Shen is here. A middle-aged man asked sternly with his arms crossed and his voice like thunder. No one on Fen Lin's side spoke. Without even looking at them. This was the first time that this group of assassins felt ignored. The middle-aged man stepped on the grass and his figure flashed and appeared behind Fen Lin. Zhang. I didn't see the sword drawn. Many assassins in the distance only saw Jinggu Jiqihui inserting the black sword into the sheath. Faga. Suddenly, blood spurted out of the middle-aged man's neck, his eyes looked in disbelief, and he finally lay down on the ground. The remaining assassins were stunned when they saw this. This middle-aged man is a master in the middle stage of transformation and is the strongest here. Until now they do not know how the middle-aged man died. Escape. This is the only word that remains in their hearts. This time I met a teacher. Fen Lin then turned around and looked at the people behind him. There were only 5 left. Brush. Jinggu Jiqihui bowed and suddenly ran out, his long black hair dancing in the wind. Zhang. Another person falls. Seal the throat with a knife. Doorbell. When Jinggu Jiqihui was about to kill the next assassin, Fen Lin appeared at some point and held his sword between 2 fingers. Kill other people, Fen Lin blurted out. Yeah. Jinggu Jiqihui's eyes looked at the rest of the people. In front of Fen Lin, a woman wearing a mask and hat felt her legs go weak. He fell onto the grass. Fen Lin took off his hat and mask, revealing a familiar face. Du Qingyu. The little assassin who once killed Fen Lin. Of course, she is also Fen Lin's fiancée. Fen Lin grabbed his ears and said coldly, "Are you looking for death, little one?" "Ah. Let go, it hurts." Du Qingyu burst into tears and continued fighting. Fen Lin not only didn't let her go, but instead picked her up from the ground, raised his hand, and slapped her butt hard. If you weren't here this time, Du Qingyu would definitely die. Although the engagement was broken off, the parents of both parties remain acquaintances. If she dies in disguise at the hands of one of her own people, how will Dad face his family in the future? Stop fighting. Du Qingyu screamed in pain. Fen Lin then let go of his ears and scolded, "If I wasn't here, you would have died." Du Qingyu's legs were still shaking. Naturally, he knew that he would not even have a chance to react to the other party's attack. He took the lollipop out of his pocket and put it in his mouth to relieve the tension in his body. In the distance, Jinguji Apkadu had already killed all the other assassins and shouted to the village, "Here comes someone." Swish, 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 several black figures appeared on the grass, bowing their heads respectfully. "Master. Clean it up." Jinguji pointed to the corpse next to her. "Yeah." Everyone who was carrying a body on their back disappeared here in the blink of an eye. Sikam Jin took out a white handkerchief from his pocket and threw it at Jinguji Kyu. "Thank you, fourth brother." Jinguji Apkadu took the handkerchief, wiped the blood on the black blade, and put the tachi into the sheath. Du Qingyu was surprised. These people were organized and disciplined. No less beautiful than my mother's peonies. "Tell me what's going on." Fen Lin looked at Du Qingyu. "I was also quite surprised. Now the opponent has entered in Jin's mid-level. We received the mission at the same time to capture Yishin alive." Du Qingyu walked over and said, "As long as we capture her, we can get 500 million. "So, the previous assassins are all your people?" Fen Lin asked. "No, we have all received this mission." Du Qingyu took out the phone and put it on the table. "This is a killer software, called God of Death." "Death? Is there such a thing?" Fen Lin picked up the phone, all the people around him gathered around. "My mother didn't bother to cooperate with this software before, but then there was almost no business. Nobody came to kill one, get a free event. In the end, I had no choice but to settle for this software." Du Qingyu explained next to him. Fen Lin carefully studied this software. It is an international version and can be automatically translated into multiple languages. Under each mission, there are many killer comments. "Shit. Okay, do you have more than 500,000 fans?" Fen Lin clicked on mine and found that Du Qingyu's name was Huayu. There are many messages in the private chats. "Goddess, stop working, I will kill people to support you." "In what country is this beauty murderess?" 100 million, how about a meal? "Sister, I am also a woman, can I join your guild?" See, hearing this news, not only Fen Lin, but also Yan Yuibai and Jinguji Kyu couldn't help but laugh. Mainly our guild is good, after all, we are under the peony flower. Du Qingyu touched his hand. Nose awkwardly. Under the peony flowers. No wonder, this is a relatively well-known murderous group. It is rumored that they are all women and the success rate of their mission is very high, Men Changsheng said while smoking a pipe next to him. Fen Lin found Du Qingyu's mission in his personal information. Sure enough, I saw his photo shin. Below are mission descriptions and character introductions. They must be captured alive and the reward is a total of 500 million. After Fen Lin clicked on it, he found that there were many murderous comments below. It is so beautiful. Fortunately, she was captured alive. If they had to kill her, she wouldn't have the heart to accept the mission. In Jiangbai, I'm not far from there. Just casually go and take a look. The Chinese won't accept it because the water is too deep. Several of my brothers died there, it's better to be in the Middle East. Fen Lin set the location to Jiangbai, but Zhu Ruang's name was not there, perhaps Liu Nian hadn't put it in yet. Liu Nian. Fen Lin thought of this and immediately looked at Du Qingyu, who created this software. I don't know, anyway, a lot of people gathered here. Originally, we couldn't handle a single business. 1 month. Since then, settling here and receiving 10 orders a month is like having fun. Du Qingyu shook his head. Boss, you won't guess that this software is, Jinguji Apkadu's face was solemn. Oh, for you too. You've seen. Is the mode of operation of this software similar to the software we have contacted before? After Fen Lin's reminder, everyone around them was stunned. Very similar indeed. Could it be that this killer software was designed by Liu Nian? It's very possible, third sister, Autumn. Liu Nian's hacking skills are among the best in the world. Even if they know this software, the elites of many countries can't block it. Yan Yuibai also nodded next to her. Fen Lin's eyes gradually narrowed. Can you try it, Du King Yu? Click to complete the task. Can't you click? If you cheat the platform, your account will be blocked. I finally have hundreds of thousands of fans. Du King Yu, just as he spoke, he noticed Fen Lin's eyes and pouted. Just click. I didn't let you trip the platform, because your mission has indeed been completed. As Feng spoke, Lin, Yishen followed him and left the villa. Chapter 203. Shameless. Fen Lin pointed at Yishen and said with a smile, isn't this the goal of your mission? Anyway, the other party wants to capture him alive, not kill him. I understand. Du King Yu looked at Yishen, who was walking towards him. Nods. The mission was clearly written, it was to capture him alive. As long as you catch it, the other party will pay you. Whatever they want to do next, they just don't agree to it. Yishen, please cooperate. Fen Lin turned around and smiled at Yishen. I don't know what happened yet. Yishen walked over with a smile. Someone wants to capture you alive. I don't know the specific reason. It may be because of your mother. Fen Lin used to lie here. This time Yishen was completely involved by himself, but he planned to let the second master protect his mother and daughter. There shouldn't be any problem. He deliberately involved Yidan to put pressure on the other party. Perhaps one day in the future, Yidan can't help but tell his secret. Fen Lin and Du King Yu took Yishen to the villa. They found a utility room behind the stairs. After opening it, inside there was a ready-made rope. Now we have to consider your acting skills. Don't be too exaggerated. Fen Lin tied Yishen's legs and hands with ropes and asked her to sit in the utility room. Yidan also came in to see what they were doing. Close the utility room door and turn on the dim light next to it. Du King Yu put on his hat and mask, revealing only a pair of big, dumb eyes. Fen Lin took out his mobile phone and stood nearby to take pictures. Let us begin. Du King Yu cleared her throat and was ready. Fen Lin pressed the record button. I have caught Yishen. Du King Yu looked at the camera and patted Yishen on the shoulder several times. Yishen's eyes filled with tension and she looked around blankly. Du King Yu walked towards Fen Lin and turned off the video on his phone. He clicked on the software, clicked complete task, and sent the video. Is it okay? Fen Lin asked. Okay, but before giving money, you have the right to inspect again and then record a video, Du King Yu said. Okay, Yishen, stay here and work for the next few days. Fen Lin walked over with a smile and untied Yishen's rope. Okay. Yishen shook her wrist lightly and stood up from the ground. The internet is now very convenient, no matter where you work. Du King Yu will stay here for now. Fen Lin went out again and chatted with a few people. Several people seemed to have endless things to say. They talked for several hours and had dry mouths. Jinguji Akada immediately ordered his servants to buy some drinks and wine. Then some people came back to have a drink here. This is how it should be when old friends meet. Unconsciously, it was already dusk. Fen Lin stood up and stretched. Today they chatted from south to north and Fen Lin also told them what he had seen and heard abroad in recent years. Of course, Fen Lin also revealed the purpose of gathering Dead Night. Eradicate the 9 Netherlands. Suddenly, Fen Lin heard the sound of the parking lot, got up and walked out. Zhuoran's car was found parked in the parking space in front of her house, but in addition to the bodyguard Sato Yin, Zhao King also got out of the car. King, why are you here too? Fen Lin left the villa and nodded towards Sato Yin. Sato Yin got the idea and walked towards the villa diagonally through the gate. Fen Lin, do you know that family? Zhuoran looked confused, remembering that there was someone living in that family. The villa that Yishen had just bought, Fen Lin explained with a smile, walked over and put his arms around Zhao King's shoulders. Why are you here? There's a very annoying person who keeps bothering King after get off work. I'm afraid she will be alone. If it's dangerous, come to our house. Zhuoran played a careful trick here. He deliberately said our family, which meant telling Zhao King that they already lived together. Zhao King is a stranger. Boss, who are these two? While the two were chatting, Jinguji Akada arrived from a distance. Fen Lin helplessly covered his face. The two always had to meet. Akada Jinguji is a master of changing faces. When facing our enemies, she is a ruthless and merciless woman. But in front of Fen Lin, she was a very gentle and obedient girl. You can switch between these two faces in a second. Here, let me introduce you. This is Jinguji Akada, my good sister. Fen Lin put his arm around Jinguji Akada's shoulders and looked at Zhuoran. I am Fen Lin's wife. Zhuoran noticed that the woman looked at Fen Lin incorrectly and said decisively. Jinguji Apagui, who was still smiling at first, immediately turned cold. What did you say? I said. I am Fenlin's wife. Zhu. Ruo. Shadow. Zhuowen crossed her arms and spoke word by word. Path. Presumptuous. The boss is a waste you can get. Jinguji Apagui walked over with a gloomy expression. Oh, you, don't talk nonsense, Fenlin said. Jinguji Apagui turned around and said with a smile, the sadness he had just done had long since disappeared. Fenlin scratched his head in embarrassment. How about, let's go in and sit down. Okay, boss. Jinguji Qiu smiled, took Fenlin's arm and walked towards the villa. Zhuowen's face was gloomy. She blocked the door of the villa and pointed at Jinguji Qiu. This is my house, I don't allow you to enter. And I can go wherever I want, anyone who blocks me will die. Jinguji Apagui's eyes were full of murderous intent, like a poisonous snake catching its prey, staring at Zhuowen. Oh, you, be polite, Fenlin said helplessly. Okay, boss. Jinguji Qiu smiled sweetly at Fenlin again. What the hell, I'm not afraid of you. Zhuowen opened the door and walked in. Fenlin and Jinguji Apagui followed him. Only Zhao King stood there stunned, gently caressed Ma Pinchon's chest, and sighed lightly. There is another competitor. However, Zhao King had no intention of competing with him. He liked Fenlin and would be happy as long as he could see Fenlin happy. Thinking of this, she smiled and followed her. Living room. Zhuowen sat on the sofa cross-legged and her expression was serious. Fenlin sat on the other side, and Jinguji Apagui next to him was still holding Fenlin's arm. I don't feel well today, so I won't cook. Zhuowen said coldly. Well, let me go cook. Zhao King raised her hand timidly. No. King, sit here. Zhuowen patted her side. Oh, Zhao King nodded, walked over and sat down. No matter what, Zhuowen was her boss. Boss, I asked my servant to go out to buy some things. We haven't slept together for a long time. I will accompany you today. Jinguji Apagui rested his head on Fenlin's arm. That. Hearing this, Zhuowen almost exploded with anger. Has the stinky woman in front of her ever slept with Fenlin? Zhao King was also shocked and covered her mouth. Fenlin, if you don't explain it to me clearly, I'm not done with you. Zhuowen crossed her arms and pouted. This is my comrade. We were sleeping together when we were doing the mission. Fenlin's eyes were full of sincerity and he was not lying. When she first rescued Jinguji Apagui, she was just a teenager and cried every day if she didn't sleep with Fenlin. Later, the same thing happened on the last night of the mission. As long as the two were together, she would go to bed late at night. Smelly woman, shameless. Zhuowen looked at Jinguji Apagui. Fenlin was so miserable and didn't know what he did secretly at night. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novellas, we cordially invite you to visit our channel. There you will find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 204. Let's see what tricks you have up your sleeve. And, my boss and I sleep together, why are we so shameless? Jinguji Apagui asked coldly. You are a woman, he is a man, he is so miserable that you are not afraid of him at night, will he take advantage of you? Zhuowen puffed her mouth, and when she spoke, she did not forget to look at Fenlin. Stop. I'm sincere. If you slander me like this, I will sue you for defamation, Fenlin corrected him. It's still an advantage. I have wanted to have a child with the boss for a long time, but the boss doesn't agree. Jinguji Apagui looked at Fenlin tenderly. Zhuowen cursed, but was relieved to know that Fenlin did not agree. Suddenly, she looked stunned and smiled meaningfully. Why are you laughing? Jinguji Apagui asked. Autumn. You better get out of here. Fenlin is simply not interested in your body. At this point, Zhuowen straightened her body very domineeringly. Oh. It's so annoying. Fenlin wants to take advantage of you. Jinguji Qiu looked at Zhuowen's capital, and his expression finally changed. He said to Fenlin aggrievedly, Boss, is what you said true? Tonight, I will tell you a story. Qiu, since we introduced you, let's go back and rest. Fenlin said with an expression on his face. He said seriously. HNPH. Boss, are you attracted to his fatness? Jinguji Qiu asked aggrievedly. No. I mainly like to listen to stories, Fenlin explained shamelessly. Zhao King next to her couldn't help but laugh. She walked to the kitchen alone and started to prepare dinner. Humph. Jinguji Apagui puffed her lips and left here. Fight with me. Even if I give you 2 cups, you are not as big as me. Zhuowen showed the disdain of a winner. When she was in school she had low self-esteem because of her figure. I feel like I am different from other women. Especially Lan Rao, who often called her names and teased her. Now she realizes that this is her advantage. Hey, Xiaoying, what story are you telling today? Fen Lin asked with a smile. He closed the door of the villa and then walked in with an indifferent expression. Tell me the story of the toad who wanted to eat swan meat. Fen Lin shook his head with a smile and said nothing. In fact, he didn't want Jinguji Akahui to sleep with him. When they were young, it was okay for the two of them to be together. Since she entered adolescence and became an adult, she still crawled under Fen Lin's sheets all day long. She slept soundly, but Fen Lin didn't. She was able to bear it because of her instinctive reaction. The key is psychologically that Fen Lin regards her as her sister. I want to do something, but I feel an inexplicable feeling of guilt inside me. In comparison, Zhu Wang feels more comfortable. Zhao King came up with the food and the three of them sat down to eat together. Stay away from her from now on, she has no qualities, Zhu Wang looked at Fen Lin and said while eating. Let's go eat. Fen Lin smiled bitterly. After eating and drinking, Fen Lin went to his room, immediately drew the curtains and closed the doors and windows. After making sure everything was correct, he took off his coat and lay down to rest. Just after midnight, Fen Lin, who was about to fall asleep, suddenly opened his eyes and noticed someone approaching. The other party first jumped to Zhu Ruan's room window and then came to Fen Lin's window. Click. A crisp sound was heard, the window shook from inside, and the lock opened. Fen Lin sat helplessly and returned. Still nothing has changed. Jinguji Op opened the window, jumped out silently, and closed it again. He then got into bed and put his head in Fen Lin's arms. Fen Lin could clearly smell the fragrance of Jinguji Qiu's body. Sighing helplessly, Fen Lin could only pretend to be asleep like before. At the same time. Inside a closed room, there were 7 or 8 computer screens in front of him. Liu Nian sat on a chair, operated the keyboard, and looked at the screen in front of him. Behind Liu Nian was none other than Liu Hu, the 18 evil spirits of the 9 Nethers. TSK, the video is okay. Peony Flower actually caught Yixin. Originally, these people were just abandoned children that I threw away, but I didn't expect them to succeed. Liu Nian grabbed her long hair and tied it up. He placed the tea next to him and drank a big mouthful. Maybe you guessed wrong. Fen Lin didn't call the other members of Dead Knight, said Liu Hu standing behind Liu Nian. So, Fen Lin chose to protect Zhu Ruang. Liu Nian clicked on the keyboard, and Zhu Ruang's photos and information appeared on the screen. Fuck, it's so big. Liu Hu looked at the photo in front of him and sighed, then smiled and scratched his head. I'm sorry. Is it as big as me? Liu Nian asked with a smile. Liu Hu shook his head awkwardly. Liu Nian's slattered fingers tapped the table rhythmically. After thinking for a long time, he took out his mobile phone and dialed Fen Lin's number. What can Fen Lin do? He is also desperate. He could only pretend to be asleep and let Jinguji Akahui fall asleep first. At this moment, the mobile phone next to the pillow vibrated, and in an instant, Fen Lin and Jinguji Akahui opened their eyes at the same time. Hello, boss. Jinguji Akahui got out of bed and gave Fen Lin a silly smile. Fen Lin didn't say anything, just touched Jinguji Akahui's eyebrows and looked at the phone. I found that the incoming call reminder was a garbled string of characters. His original sleepiness disappeared and he said in a deep voice, It's Liu Nian. That. Jinguji Akahui also took a deep breath. Fen Lin answered the phone. What's wrong? Were you calling me so late? Boss, I'm sorry to disturb your sweet sleep. I seem to have trapped Yixin. Liu Nian's voice was heard. Fen Lin did not turn on the speaker, but in the quiet darkness, Jinguji Akahui, who was very close, could hear clearly. Then what? Fen Lin asked. So. In exchange for a fire lotus seed, of course, Liu Nian replied without thinking. I want to give it to you too, do you dare to come and get it? Fen Lin asked coldly. Boss, I'm very busy and I really don't have time. I will ask someone to look for you tomorrow. As long as I hand over the fire lotus seeds, I will let Yixin go. Liu Nian said with a smile. I'll say it again, I have used the fire lotus seeds. If Yixin dies, I will tell Yi Dan that Liu Nian killed his daughter. Fen Lin was testing Liu Nian. He always felt that way between Yi Dan and Ji Hao, the Liu family's line lineage is inextricably linked. Haha. Boss, I will give you one night to think about it. I will return to you tomorrow. If you don't give me the fire lotus seeds, I will kill someone. After Liu Nian finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Boss, Liu Nian, go to sleep, it's getting late. Fen Lin patted Jinguji Qiu's head. This is just the beginning. Fen Lin's eyes narrowed slightly. Yunan, let's see what tricks you can do. The next morning, Zhou Wang and Zhao King woke up in a daze. Jinguji also rubbed his eyes as he opened the door. Fen Lin finally took a deep breath and stayed up until 3 or 4 in the afternoon yesterday before falling asleep for a while. Now I can finally rest well. At the same time, Zhou Wang on the opposite side also opened the door, just in time to see Jinguji Qihui walk out of Fen Lin's room. The two looked at each other and time seemed to stop at that moment. Jinguji Qihui yawned. Good morning. Zhou Wang couldn't help but scream, ran to Fen Lin's room and threw herself towards her like a mountain. 2 large mountains hit Fen Lin in the face. Fuck. Fen Lin finally managed to rest for a while, but suddenly he couldn't breathe. Chapter 205. Being deceived. Fen Lin. What did you do with her last night? Zhou Wang asked fiercely with an angry expression on her face. I haven't even taken off my clothes, what do you think I can do? Fen Lin turned to the side in a daze, held Zhou Wang's legs between his legs, hugged her like this, and closed his eyes again. You wouldn't let me go. Zhou Wang, who was still angry at first, suddenly turned red, slapped Fen Lin's arm, and tried to break free. At this moment, Jinguji Qihui walked in again. When Zhou Wang saw this, she immediately hugged Fen Lin again, with a helpless expression on her face. I hate it, I can't sleep without you holding me. Jinguji Qihui's face turned green. He walked over and pointed at Zhou Wang and shouted, Get out. I want to go out too, but Fen Lin keeps hugging me, so I can't go out. Zhou Wang looked sarcastic. You, Jinguji Qihui's teeth were itchy with anger. Oh, you, please come out. I am a righteous person. I have been holding you all night. Fen Lin's voice came in a daze. Okay, boss. Jinguji Qihui puffed his lips slightly, glared at Zhou Wang fiercely, then turned and left. By the way, close the door. Zhou Wang silently raised her head and found that he was gone, so she began to struggle again. Let me go. At this moment, Jinguji Qihui opened the door again. Zhou Wang finally broke free. When he found out that she was here again, he could only hug Fen Lin's head again and give her an Estee Lauder facial cleanser. Boss, that woman named Du Qingyu is looking for you, Jinguji Qihui said outside the door. I know, Fen Lin nodded. Jinguji Qihui closed the door again. Zhou Wang breathed a sigh of relief, pinched Fen Lin's arm and blushed. Huh. I'm taking advantage of you, you bastard. She hurriedly jumped up, adjusted her appearance in the mirror next to her, took a deep breath, and walked out with an indifferent expression. Fen Lin stretched and stood up. Below. Zhao King was busy in the kitchen and Zhou Wang was sitting on a sofa, reading today's morning newspaper on her mobile phone. Du Qingyu was standing in the living room. He saw Fen Lin coming down and approaching with his mobile phone. Fen Lin, your money arrived last night. Have you received any other tasks? Fen Lin rubbed his hands. Lowering his eyes, he asked. No, the news is that I should stay put. Someone will come and take Yi Shen away in the next 2 days, Du Qingyu explained. Okay. Then wait for them to come. Fen Lin nodded. Accompanying Zhou Wang and Zhao King at breakfast. The two, plus the bodyguard Fen Lin had found for Zhou Wang, went to the company together. After sending away all these people, Fen Lin lay down on the sofa and finally rested. Zhou Wang and Zhao King returned to their jobs. After being busy until noon, Zhao King discovered that Zhang Huiming did not come yesterday. He also breathed a sigh of relief and prepared to order takeout from the company. Just when I turned on my phone to order food, I found a familiar number. It's her aunt, Zhao Kaiyan. He originally planned to hang up, but after thinking carefully, he answered the call. Hey, what's going on? Zhao King asked calmly. King, I'm sorry to bother you, can you come out for a moment? I'm not far from your company, Zhao Kaiyan's voice pleaded. Zhao King shook her head, hung up the phone and walked out. He was going to walk up and make it clear that this was the last time he would see them. Since her father fell ill and no family came to visit her, she no longer had any feelings for them. Zhao King walked out of the company, and Zhao Kaiyan in the distance waved to her. What's the matter? Zhao King asked with a frown. King, we were having dinner at a hotel just now. Your brother accidentally drank. I can't drive, so I asked you to take us to the hotel. Zhao Kaiyan said with a smile. Don't you know how to find a driver yourself? Zhao King frowned. Haha, we're all alone. Anyway, it's noon. You send us to the hotel, drive our car here, and leave when your brother is sober. Zhao Kaiyan seemed to apologize. What happened in the past, me? It's okay, I have my life right now and I hope you don't have to bother me in the future. Zhao King was originally kind, but when she saw Zhao Kaiyan's apology, she felt soft in her heart and decided to help. There was a Honda Civic parked in front of the hotel not far away. Seeing this car, Zhao King remembered the time when he knelt in front of her house and asked her to pay him back. She said no, but a few days later he gave her a Civic. Son. At this moment, Zhao King almost went crazy. Opening the car door, Zhao King found Sun Yuan lying in the back seat. He greeted Zhao King apologetically. King, please. Zhao King sat in the driver's seat and Zhao Kaiyan sat in the passenger seat. Zhao King started the car skillfully and didn't dare to drive since the last time Feng Lin asked her to drive. I specially practiced during this period and finally became familiar with the operation. Go ahead and turn left. Zhao Kaiyan was leading the way. Zhao King turned onto the road she pointed out and found that it was not a main road and the road was relatively narrow. Suddenly, he noticed a red Ferrari sports car parked on the side of the road in the distance. She walked cautiously. At this moment, Zhao Kaiyan next to him suddenly grabbed the steering wheel and turned it in the direction of Ferrari. Although Zhao King immediately stepped on the brake, he still heard a bang. Beat him. What are you doing? Zhao King was so scared that her mind went blank and she yelled at Zhao Kaiyan. What am I doing? It's obvious that you were driving carelessly, Zhao Kaiyan asked with a puzzled expression on her face. Yes, King, it was obvious that you had bumped into me. What does it have to do with my mother? Sun Yuan in the back row also said. Immediately afterwards, several people got out of the car and found that the front of the Civic and the front of the Ferrari were dented. Sun Yuan sneered in his heart, and Mr. Zhang said that after doing this, he would immediately exchange it for a BMW. Shit. My car. At this moment, Zhang Yuan ran out of the public toilet next to him with an angry expression on his face. This is his most expensive car, a Ferrari 488. 5 million landed. But as long as you can get the prescription, this little money is just a drop in the bucket. King, is that you? The front of my Ferrari is broken. If it needs to be repaired, it will cost more than 1 million. Zhang Yuan walked over and recorded the video with his mobile phone with a helpless look. Her face. This is my favorite car. Phew. You, Zhao King was so angry that she cried. No matter how stupid she was, she knew they were working together to trick her. Where can he get so much money from? He couldn't help but think of Feng Lin, but even if he was a soldier, he couldn't afford that much money. However, it was better to have someone help her than to do it alone, so she still called Feng Lin's mobile phone number. As soon as Feng Lin got up from the sofa, he received a call from Zhao King. After finding out what happened to him, Feng Lin immediately walked over. This silly girl still doesn't understand the dangers of the human heart. Those kind of rotten relatives, why do you care about them? When Feng Lin arrived here, he found that the traffic police had also arrived. It seems that Zhang Yuan's design is very good, and he is not afraid of research at all. Chapter 206. Sometimes they cry. Feng Lin immediately ran over and approached Zhao King. Are you okay? I'm fine. Zhao King's eyes were red and her voice was choked. Brother, you are finally here. I just called the forest store. I lost about 800,000 yuan. Zhang Yuan picked up the phone and asked Feng Lin to read the chat history. Feng Lin didn't even look at it, but he knew that it was a deliberate trap. Were you two so serious? What did King do to offend you? Feng Lin pointed at Zhao Kaiyan and Sun Yuan next to him, with a cold inviting tone. What nonsense are you talking about? This matter has nothing to do with us. It was because of his poor driving skills that he hit him, Zhao Kaiyan argued. People who do not do it themselves will be punished by heaven and earth. He sacrifices Zhao King so that his family can live a good life. This kind of good stuff is something that most people don't have access to. Zhang Yuan had previously promised to replace his car with a BMW. If Zhang Yuan can get Zhao King, he can add another 500,000 in cash. They returned to their small place and were able to live very comfortably. You're talking nonsense. You obviously moved my steering wheel and made me hit it. Zhao King wiped away her tears and said, "Common police officer, there are your fingerprints on it." Zhao Kaiyan replied coldly, "Zhao King, this is our car, so it's normal to have my fingerprints, right?" He said brutally from the side. Zhao King, who was now mute, eats Copte's chin and sits and cannot express his pain. I specifically asked just now. The streets here are relatively small, and only the intersections are monitored. There is no way to capture what happened in the car before. Common police officer, let's talk to them first. If we can keep it private, I won't delay our business, Zhang Yuan said with a smile. The policeman went out very wisely and evacuated the vehicles in the distance. Zhao King, 800,000 is not a small amount, what do you think we should do? Zhang Yuan said calmly when he saw the police officers leaving. Of course, Zhao King knew that this was not a small sum of money. If it was really his fault, the worst thing he could do was borrow from Zhu, and Mr. Zhu is very kind and generous to her and would definitely lend her money. But the key this time was not what she did. Be nervous. Fen Lin wiped the tears from Zhao King's cheek and looked around. The only thing that can prove Zhao King's innocence now is the camera. However, there was no such facility, so it was obviously a place that they specifically found. Hurry up, we're all busy. Zhang Yuming pointed at Fen Lin and said with a smile, "Aren't you her boyfriend? Take the money." 800,000, how can I have so much cash? Lin pretended to be dejected. Otherwise, King, 80,000 a day, stay with me for 10 days, forget it. Zhang Yuming expressed his purpose. If Zhao King sleeps with him, people like Fen Lin will definitely stay away from Zhao King. She also understands Zhao King's personality, and if she threatens her with a video of the two of them sleeping, she will definitely get the recipe. Thinking of this, Zhang Yuming couldn't help but laugh out loud. He was very smart. While making money, you can also play with such a pure woman. Zhao King clutched her fists and her eyes were cold. She would rather go to jail than bow down to such a person. King, don't worry, even if I lose everything, I will lend you money anyway. Fen Lin took the phone and walked away. Zhang Yuming frowned. Could this guy really be borrowed? Boss, what's wrong? Jinguji Abkadu's voice came from the mobile phone. Tell Yishin to prepare 800,000 yuan in cash for me and give me 2 small listening devices. As Fen Lin spoke, he looked at the arrogant people in the distance. The fraud amount exceeded 500,000 yuan. It is particularly huge. Laugh happily now, they will cry later. Okay, I'll do it right away. Jinguji Abkadu nodded and hung up the phone. Later, location sharing appeared in Fen Lin. King, I borrowed 800,000 yuan, it's okay. Fen Lin walked over with a smile and comforted her in a low voice. No. Fen Lin, this is not my fault in the first place. If you can't give me money, the worst thing I can do is go to jail. Zhao King grabbed Fen Lin's arm and said through tears. Do not cry. Fen Lin held Zhao King's head with both hands and wiped her tears with his thumb. Isn't it just 800,000? I'll have 3 jobs from now on. Boy, what are you doing? This. 1. She is just a woman. Zhang Yuming walked over with a smile, shrugged his shoulders and said, the average person may have to work for 800,000 yuan for a lifetime. Is it worth it to be a woman? It depends on you. I will pay you money in a while and everyone will separate. Fen Lin took Zhao King and sat in the garden next to him, waiting quietly. Zhao King's eyes were as red as light bulbs and he said viciously, Fen Lin. I'm a fool. Just be careful next time. Fen Lin comforted him with a smile. Did you borrow Mr. Zhu's money? Zhao King asked. Fen Lin hesitated for a moment and nodded. Zhao King forced an ugly smile. Don't worry, when I come back I will tell Mr. Zhu that it was the money I borrowed. From now on, I will work for free, as long as I have food to eat. Silly girl. Fen Lin put his mouth on Zhao King and whispered in her ear, believe me, in the end you will not only get the money, but you will also make them pay the price. Oh really? Zhao King opened her mouth in shock. Of course, I don't know how you will reward me. Fen Lin smiled and held the back of his head with his hands. Zhao King's blushing cheeks seemed to be dripping with water. As long as you want, I can do whatever you want. While the two were chatting, a Volkswagen appeared in the distance. Jin Guji got up from the driver's seat, opened the passenger door, and took out a suitcase from above. Zhang Yuming looked at Jin Guji in the distance, his eyes straightened. These long legs seemed to reflect the light, along with the elegant and casual long hair and exquisite facial features. So beautiful. Jinguji Abkadu took out his suitcase and walked towards Fen Lin in the distance. Boss, I brought the things. As he spoke, he took out too many bugs from his pocket, which were as big as buttons. Fen Lin put the things into his pockets without a trace, then crouched down and opened the suitcase. It's full of bills. Zhang Yuming and others walked over and saw the money inside, a large bundle of 100,000, in fact 8 large bundles. Zhao Kaiyang looked at Fen Lin in surprise. He didn't expect to actually get 800,000 yuan. You couldn't borrow them from a loan shark. Fen Lin called the police officer from afar and said, we are ready to go private. We have brought 800,000 yuan. As he spoke, Fen Lin put his arm around Sun Yuanying's shoulders and took the opportunity to place a listening device in beneath his neck. How could Sun Yuanying feel that he was now immersed in a fantasy of being rich? Okay, since I lost the money, let's forget about it and prepare to tow the car, the police officer said to Zhang Yuanying. Fen Lin put his arm around Zhang Yuming's shoulders again and said with a smile, "Brother, we don't need to pay for the tow truck, right?" Chapter 207 Justice Trial. Let me go. Zhang Yuming pushed Fen Lin's arm. The plan he finally thought of was solved by this kid. It will be difficult to fool Zhao King next time. But, Zhang Yuming looked at Fen Lin secretly. In comparison, this stupid boy should be easier to fool. As long as he is fooled, Zhao King will give in. Haha, brother, I'll do the towing. Zhang Yuming smiled again and put his arm around Fen Lin's shoulders. This time it's my fault for not stopping at the edge. I'll treat you to dinner next time. Okay, Fen Lin nodded. Finally, the tow trucks took away the two vehicles separately. A Mercedes-Benz appeared in front of Zhang Yuming and opened the passenger door. Before leaving, he did not forget to greet Fen Lin. Zhao Kaiyang and Sun Yuanyin also arrived at the back row of the car as they were used to. Zhang Yuming said in a deep voice, "Are you crazy? What are you doing in my car?" "Oh yeah." Zhao Kaiyang was surprised and nodded repeatedly. It's like they got into a car and didn't tell the others that they were in the same group. Call me on the phone. After Zhang Yuming finished speaking, he closed the window and left. Zhao Kaiyang and Sun Yuanyin looked at each other and smiled. When they saw Zhao King and Fen Lin, they all entered Wuling Huangwen. Zhao Kaiyang hurried up and said without forgetting, King, because I am an ant, you don't have to pay for our car, be happy." Shameless. Sooner or later you will receive your retribution. Zhao King snorted coldly and closed the window. Fen Lin stepped on the accelerator and sprayed the car's exhaust into his face. "Damn girl. Why are you talking to me?" Zhao Kaiyang said coldly. "Mom, why are you angry? Anyway, we have our BMW. We will call Mr. Zhang later to see which BMW he will buy for us," Sun Yuanyin said from afar with a smile. "Son, forget about an ordinary BMW. If it's a Series 3 or above, I suggest you exchange it for money." Zhao Kaiyang smiled beside him. He had already figured out how to spend the money. Fen Lin sent Zhao King to the door of the company and smiled at her. "Wait. It may not be long before the people from the police station come to find you. Then there will be justice." Zhao King nods, gets out of the car and returns to the company. Fen Lin also got out of the car and approached the Volkswagen behind Wuling Huangwen. Opening the passenger door, Jin Guoji was holding a laptop inside. In addition to showing the direction, your conversations can also be heard clearly. "Grandpa, it is a great honor for them to use our Dead Knight standards to deal with this kind of garbage." Fen Lin closed his eyes and listened to the conversation. Only Zhao Kaiyang and Sun Yuanyin were speaking at this time. Zhang Yuming on the other side was silent. A few minutes later, they finally spoke on the phone. Sun Yuanyin was the first to speak. His voice was full of flattery. "Hey, Master Zhang." Zhang Yuming asked calmly, "What's wrong?" "Master Zhang, this matter is over. Didn't you say you want to change?" "Me? Is it a BMW? I want to ask which one is it?" Sun Yuanyin asked. "Which one do you have the nerve to mention? I don't even want to give it to you. Let me ask you, is what I did done?" Zhang Yuming became angry when he mentioned this. The 800,000. The purpose this time was to drive Zhao King into a dead end, but he knew that Fen Lin could get 800,000. "If I had known earlier, I would have borrowed Mr. Wei's Rolls-Royce Phantom." "Master Zhang, we don't know if Fen Lin can afford 800,000 yuan. Our current cars are all broken down. Stop talking nonsense. BMW series, do you want it if you like it?" Zhang Yuming said sternly. "Yes. Of course." Sun Yuanyin nodded hurriedly. "Don't be a bastard if you have money. Did you move the steering wheel this time or was it your mother?" Zhang Yuming asked. Hearing this, Fen Lin smiled and finally got down to business. "It's my mother," Sun Yuanyin replied. "Crazy. Trash, is your mother afraid of death? The collision was so slight. Just hit my car and scrap it, and let them pay more than 4 or 5 million. Zhang Yuming was so angry that he finally thought of the way. "It definitely won't work if you use it again. The main thing is that she stepped on the brake. Can't we stop her from stepping on the brake?" "Forget it, I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. Come see me at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I will help you buy a car." After Zhang Yuming finished speaking, he hung up the phone. "Is it recorded?" Fen Lin rubbed his eyes and asked with a smile. "Of course we recorded it from the beginning." Jinguji Akada nodded. "Okay, send me the recording." Fen Lin took out his cell phone and soon went to find the head of the police station. Not only would they spit out the money, but they would also be imprisoned for several years. Jinguji Akada operated a laptop and sent the recording to Fen Lin's mobile phone. When Fen Lin was about to get out of the car, he heard Zhang Yuming's voice again. Master Wei, I'm back. How are things going? Fen Lin heard this familiar voice, Wei Kangyong. Unexpectedly, he and Zhang Yuming were in the same group. Shit. Who was this Fen Lin? I just borrowed 800,000 yuan at my request. My work was in vain, Zhang Yuming said fiercely. Boss, what should I do? Jinggu Jiqiu looked at Fen Lin. Let's not hurry. Let's see what they're doing. It was still early anyway, so he leaned on the headrest and listened quietly. Finally, we learned that his purpose was also a prescription. While listening here, a woman's voice suddenly came from Zhang Yuming's side. Fen Lin rolled his eyes. Is this man an inferior animal? Do this kind of thing in the middle of the day? Not yet. Fen Lin looked at Jinggu Jiqiu next to him, then asked with his hands. Slightly red cheeks. Boss, that woman said she felt uncomfortable and said she felt happy at the same time. How do you feel? I'm not a woman, how do I know? Fen Lin turned around. Roll your eyes. But I don't know, boss, otherwise we, damn girl. Do you want to be beaten again? Fen Lin raised his hand and shouted coldly. HNPH. Jinggu Jiqiu puffed out his cheeks. Fen Lin asked Lao to go back first and he simply took Wu Linghuang to the police station. Meanwhile, he calls Li Jun. As soon as he arrived, Li Jun met him at the door. Sir, what's wrong? Li Jun saw Fen Lin get out of the car and walked over with a smile. My friend is in trouble. I want you to help me. Fen Lin told the whole story and handed the recording in his hand to Li Jun. Is there such a thing? Damn. Li Jun entered the office and shouted, Shamu, I give you a task. Fen Lin saw him without telling him. Li Jun was a smart man and knew that Zhang Yuming was a big shot, so he handed the matter directly to Shamu. He also can't offend anyone. After Shamu heard the recording, he became furious. Especially after learning that Zhao Kaiyan is still related to Zhao Qingqing. Were there any such relatives? Shamu immediately notified his subordinates to summon everyone involved in this case, including the traffic police who had previously taken care of their affairs. Fen Lin volunteered and drove to Zhao Qingqing himself. No one else had arrived. Not long after, Zhao Kaiyan and Sun Yuanyan were brought in. Chapter 208 Qingqing, spare your life. Zhao Kaiyan noticed Zhao Qingqing and Fen Lin here, and immediately walked over, pointed at Zhao Qingqing and shouted, Why are you so crazy? It has nothing to do with Qingqing, it's my fault. I originally wanted to take a stab. I came back, but the more I thought about it, I was angry, so I called the police. Fen Lin put his hands in his trouser pockets and said with a smile. What's the use of calling the police? Zhao Qingqing, let me tell you, you haven't paid for our car yet. Sun Yuanyan also walked over and said coldly. Not long after, Zhang Yuming was also brought in. With him was the traffic policeman from before. I'm telling you, I'm running up tens of thousands a minute. It's best not to delay too much. Zhang Yuming walked over with a calm smile on his face. Here, he noticed Zhao Qingqing and Fen Lin and after arriving, he thought it was them. But it's not stupid, there's no surveillance on that road and there's no evidence of death. Even if you call the police, it will be in vain. Hello, I won't bother your time. I just want to ask you something. Shamu walked towards the traffic police. What did Zhao Qingqing say when you first appeared? She was doing her best to object. About this Zhao Qingqing. Kaiyan moved the steering wheel, causing the car to crash, the traffic police officer said calmly. Okay. You can go, this confession is enough. Shamu nodded. The traffic policeman greeted Shamu and turned to leave. Zhao Kaiyan didn't know what happened, but she was still a little scared. Comrade, don't listen to Zhao's nonsense. Qingqing. She likes lying to people since she was a child. You're talking nonsense. Obviously it was you who moved the steering wheel. You three are a group. Yes. Zhao Qingqing shouted at the top of her lungs. Since Fen Lin had called the police, she naturally wanted to tell the truth. Where is the evidence? You said my mother moved the steering wheel. Where is your evidence? Sun Yuanyan walked over and said. Yes, Zhao Qingqing, I am the victim this time. If you say that she moved the steering wheel, you will provide evidence. Zhang Yuming smiled and continued. I have a psychological defect. If you slander me like that, I will. I'll tell you later. I will sue you and ask you to compensate me for my mental damages. Hearing this, Zhao Qingqing's face turned as pale as a sheet of paper. If she had proof, she would have presented it a long time ago. Why wait until now? Involuntarily, he looked at Fen Lin. Captain Zhao, I want to call the police now at this time. Fen Lin looked at Shamu in front of him and said loudly, I want to sue the three of you for joining forces and defrauding Zhao Qingqing for 800,000 yuan. Ha ha ha. Boy, what's wrong with you? In this case, I will call the police and sue you for slandering me. Zhang Yuming pointed at Feng Lin and said, I also want to sue Feng Lin and Zhao Qingqing. They also slandered us. I want them to compensate me, Zhao Kaiyang continued. It was really embarrassing for her to dare to call the police without evidence. Okay. I would like you to call the police. Let me tell you what happened to you. First of all, Zhao Qingqing Feng Lin, if you cannot present evidence and the verdict cannot be rendered, we will arrest you. For slander. Zhang Huimin, Zhao Kaiyang and others showed disdainful smiles when they heard this. Shamu continued. It would be nice if you could present evidence. These three people extorted 800,000 yuan. The amount is extremely large and will take at least 10 years. Hearing this, Zhao Kaiyang and Sun Yuanyin looked at each other. They both lowered their heads. Don't you dare to speak. Relatively speaking, this is not fair. For example, if you three really blackmailed them, if you give up now, you can save at least 2 or 3 years. Shamu's eyes fell on Zhang Huiming and the other three. Haha, no, we didn't do anything. Why did we give up? Zhang Huiming smiled and shrugged. That's right. We didn't do anything. Zhao Kaiyang also said, anyway, the other party had no proof. Only a fool would admit it. Shamu sneered again and again, okay. It seems like you're not going to give up. Come here and handcuff Zhang Huimin, Zhao Kaiyang and Sun Jianying. Yes. Several police officers surrounded them and grabbed 3 of them respectively. The 3 of them were stunned and couldn't believe it. Zhao Kaiyang was the first to speak. Why are we being arrested? Where is the evidence? Do you want to be illegal? Do you know who I am? How dare you slander me? I want to appeal. I want appeal. Zhang Huiming struggled hard and lowered his voice. He roared. Do you know the evidence? After this incident, Feng Lin already called the police and we monitored his phone calls. Shamu leave here, because according to common sense, these 3 people were arrested. Feng Lin will also be responsible for violating the privacy rights of these people. However, Shamu found it troublesome and simply said that he did it himself. Monitoring. Zhang Huiming's pupils narrowed to points and he shook his head vigorously, impossible. Where is the evidence? If there's no evidence, I will sue you too. There's no evidence. Shamu took out his cell phone and sent him the phone number that Feng Lin sent him. The recording plays. The conversation between them reached the ears of everyone word by word. Zhao Kaiyang and Sun Yuanying's bosses were still buzzing. Their brain was a mess and they seemed to have lost their minds. They never expected that the police officers were well prepared. Do you want to check your call records? Shamu looked at the 3 of them with an indifferent expression. What else can I say? 10 years old. Zhao Kaiyang didn't dare to think that he was now over 50 years old. If they imprisoned her for another 10 years, would they imprison her to death? Her body collapsed and she knelt on the ground with a bang, hugging Zhao Qingqing's legs and crying. Qingqing, I know I was wrong, please forgive me, please. Forgive me. Qingqing, forgive me, brother, it's all Zhang Huimin. Yeah. He's the brain of this rubbish idea. Sun Yuanyin also knelt down, so frightened that tears welled up in his eyes. This year he is already 30 years old and still has no wife. He will be 40 when he returns. But then I will have nothing. I'll be old. I've been in jail and I can't even find a wife. You're obviously the brains. You are the one who moved the wheel. This matter has nothing to do with me. Zhang Huiming's eyes were sinister and he showed a fierce expression. Qingqing, give Addie a chance. I will bow before you. I was really wrong. Don't sue me. Zhao Kaiyang kept hitting her head on the ground, with mucus coming out of her nose. She really regretted it. She regretted it to death. Zhao Qingqing is a kind woman, but the 2 of them made her strong. She turned her head. Yes, after all, the 800,000 will be returned to you. Zhao Zhamu nodded. Qingqing and Zhamu left together. Qingqing. Qingqing. Feng Lin looked at Zhao Qingqing sitting in the passenger seat and drove back to the company. Thank you. Zhao Qingqing lowered his head and said with a bitter smile. He had forgotten how many times he had thanked Feng Lin. I remember it started in high school. You're welcome, I'm one of my own. As Feng Lin spoke, his phone suddenly rang. Hey. Feng Lin asked with a smile. Feng Lin, my teacher wants to talk to you, please be polite. Kaikyo Okiao's childish Lolita voice came from the mobile phone. Chapter 209 Lord of the Underworld. Feng Lin took a deep breath. Kaikyo Okiao's master was none other than the Lord of the Underworld. Maybe we can find out my mother's whereabouts. Your name is Feng Lin. A mature female voice came from the other side, about 30 or 40 years old. Yes, I'm Fen Lin. Fen Lin held the steering wheel with one hand, parked the car on the side of the road, and responded calmly. It was you who replaced Kyokiao's broken pieces, right? The voice of the woman opposite was very cold. I changed it before she received it. Fen Lin touched Zhao Qingqing's head, got out of the car and crouched on the side of the road. There are some things you can't let yourself hear. Tell me, what do you want to do? The woman in front asked, her voice very majestic. I want to ask you about someone. Her name is Hu Yongzhu. She was taken away by two people. One of them, a middle-aged man, had your Huaikwan barcode on his face. Fen Lin's voice was solemn, and after he said it, he even felt his heart beat faster. He looks forward to it, waiting for the other party to know. If we find her, Dad can live with Mom in peace from now on. Who are you from Hu Yongzhu? The woman opposite asked sharply. As expected, they know each other. Fen Lin's hand holding the phone trembled. I am his son. You are hers. The woman in front paused for more than 10 seconds and finally said, I'm sorry. I don't know where she went. Your people took her away, why didn't you know? Fen Lin's voice was a little louder. I also want to know where she went. The voice of the woman in front had always she was from your underworld. Fen Lin took a deep breath and asked, yes, she has been here for 5 years. She is the woman I respect the most. All right. I hope you can handle these people who play with insects well, otherwise, we will still be enemies. Fen Lin shook his head slightly. Huaikwan took him there, and it was normal for him to leave with a person with a barcode. The only conclusion that can be drawn at the moment is that his mother left voluntarily. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm not talking about Huaikwan. I'm just a pet controlled by the Presbyterian Church, said the Lord of Huaikwan. Fen Lin chatted with her for a long time. It was learned that her name was Kai Lin. In the original Battle of Huaikwan, she followed the people of her own lineage and gained victory. Outsiders thought that Kai Lin was extremely powerful, but in fact, all matters in Huaikwan were to be obeyed by her elders. Over the years she has secretly trained a group of teachers, like the witches who serve her. But these people are far from mature. To be stable, it will take at least 10 years. However, recently the Presbyterian Church has seemed dissatisfied with Kai Lin's growing power. If they interfered, Kai Lin might disappear in less than 10 years. Fen Lin smiled bitterly. Haha, let's put it this way, from now on, when I meet these people who play games, insects, the best way is to kill them all. It's not impossible, as long as I can obtain immortality crew. I guarantee that I will unify the underworld within a year. Kai Lin said. To put it bluntly, let me hand over the fragments to you, Fen Lin said with a slight smile. No. I only have 2 of your fragments. I don't know how many years it will take to find them all. Kai Lin paused and continued, I have a way to attract them. Fen Lin said nothing and waited for the next step. Everyone knows that this is the map of the cemetery of Argu cultivators, but we don't know the location. I'm gonna tell you. Kai Lin already had this plan. He just needs to tell everyone that Huaikwan is going to the cemetery with the person who wants the fragment. Share the treasure inside together. I think those who have maps will not be able to sit still. Although they know that there exist many dangers. However, she herself was under house arrest and could not leave the Huaikwan headquarters. The Sinku that Hu Yongzhu left her had been searched by countless people and finally found a suitable host. This person is Kyokiao. She is still young and cannot be given important responsibilities. That is why Kai Lin has been waiting for the opportunity, because as long as she carries out this task, the Presbyterian Council must bring experts there. Even if immortal goo is found by then, she will continue belonging to the Presbyterian Council. It has nothing to do with her. Fen Lin smiled and nodded. This is a good idea. If you have no strength, you will only make wedding clothes for others. My strength is only average, Fen Lin said with a smile. I am Shenqiao. You, Kai Lin was horrified. She had heard Kyokiao say before that Fen Lin's strength was almost the same as hers. She believes that Fen Lin is the most comprehensive realm. Unexpectedly, she entered the divine realm. Are you talking nonsense? Your voice is only about 20 years old. How can you enter the divine orifice at this age? Kai Lin couldn't believe it. Fen Lin rolled his eyes. I haven't finished speaking yet. He is at the peak of the late Shenqiao stage and reached it 2 years ago. He went out to relax just to find opportunities for advancement. Now that he has taken fire lotus seeds, he feels that he will be able to break through immediately, as long as there are enough masters on this trip to the cemetery. Fen Lin said lightly. I don't need to lie to you. If you don't believe it, we can meet. I think he is Hu Yongzhu's son after all. Kai Lin's voice came, that's it. How things will be done. I will let you okay, I'll tell you the specific news. After saying that, the other party hung up the phone. Fen Lin put away his cell phone, touched his ears, got into the car and left. Looks like we're going to be busy again. In the sealed space, the numerous screens in front of him were almost all filled with codes. Liu Nian was sitting in front of the computer desk, drinking tea. Beside him was Liu Hu. Shao Nian, since you captured Yi Shen, why don't you take the next step? Liu Hu asked strangely. I called Fen Lin and he mentioned Yi Dan. Yi Dan is in his hand. Liu Nian curled her hair with her fingers and whispered, I'm afraid he knows about Yi Dan. Now the other sets of Sealets no longer notice the Yi family. Let's secretly capture Yi Dan, Liu Hu suggested. Fen Lin dares to bring up that topic. There must be experts around Yi Dan. Let alone Men Chang Sheng, a scared old crickle. Even if it is Sukong Jin, Uncle Hu, it is difficult for you to get any benefit. Liu Nian frowned. Liu Nian frowned, closed his eyes and meditated. Now we need a gust of east wind, an unexpected east wind. At that moment, Liu Nian's cell phone rang. He picked it up and looked at it, and the corners of his mouth suddenly raised. Unexpectedly, the east wind really came. Fen Lin sent Zhao King to the company and he drove back to the villa. Jinggu Jiqiu and Yan Yuanbai were sitting together chatting. Men Cheng Sheng and Yi Dan were playing chess in the living room. Sicom Jin and Du Qingyu were sitting on a sofa, playing mobile games. Are you back? Jinggu Jiqiu smiled and waved. Yes. Fen Lin walked in with his suitcase. He walked up to Yi Shen who was working in the back and said, I'll give you your money back. No. Yi Shen smiled and shook her head. I'm not polite to you. Fen Lin leaned the box against the corner, sat on the sofa and looked at everyone. I want to announce something. Chapter 210 Leaving for the journey. Everyone around looked towards Fen Lin, waiting for his speech. I want to help the Gu cultivator do something. During this period, stay where you are and protect everyone's safety. This matter should be very dangerous, and Fen Lin was planning to go there alone. Boss, what's going on? Second master and fourth brother are here to protect you. I'll go with you, Jinggu Jiqiu walked over and said. No. Fen Lin shook his head, it's easier for me to move alone. At this moment, Du Qingyu suddenly stood up, looked at the phone, and said, Fen Lin, is this about Huangquan Cemetery Organization? Wow, Chow. How do you know this, girl? Fen Lin approached strangely. It's the latest news about this god-killing software. It says that the Huangquan organization has decided to tell you the location of its founder's tomb, Du Qingyu said, picking up his phone. Fen Lin immediately walked over to observe the news. Indeed, it is an excellent software. The news spreads very quickly. To some extent, as the founder of the software, Liu Nian didn't know how much information he had. This is, Fen Lin's eyes suddenly widened. The second set of the Jia land, the Liu family, was also going to pass. Could it be that and Liu Nian wants to go there? Fen Lin, this news is the best news. Under normal circumstances, the best news is confirmed, Du Qingyu explained next to him. Fen Lin sat on the sofa and remained silent. Several more people approached very strangely and when they noticed the news, all of their expressions changed. Will you now go too? Jinggu Jiqiu said in a deep voice. Men Chang Sheng, who was playing chess there, also stopped and looked at the people here. Boss, what are your plans? I hear it. Jinggu Jiqiu looked at Fen Lin with a smile. Yan Yuanbai lowered his head and moved his throat a few times, but didn't say anything. At this moment, Fen Lin's cell phone vibrated, and he took it out and looked at it. It was Lanny's phone number. What's wrong? Fen Lin replied. After getting accurate information, Liu Nian will go to the tomb of the founder of Huangquan, Lanny said there. He still remembered what Feng said. Lin before as long as there is news about Liu Nian, tug Fen Lin, I know, I will go. Fen Lin hung up the phone with a gloomy face, raised his head and said, the fourth one will go with me. The others will rest at home. Boss. Jinggu Jiqiu said. Holding Fen Lin's arm, I will show no mercy. No. Fen Lin sat on the sofa, closed his eyes and meditated. He always felt that something was wrong. He returned to his old self and felt more and more strange. If it were me in the past, what would I do if something like this happened? Fen Lin suddenly looked around. He thought about it. You must take us there together to teach him a lesson and make him repent. That's right. Sicom Jin also nodded. Haha, that's what I'm saying. Jin, fourth, you won't go. I'll go alone. But you're alone, Sicom Jin whispered and didn't finish the sentence. Don't worry, it's not sure whether she'll go or not. Fen Lin smiled and shrugged. Everyone is busy with own affairs. This time I will treat it as a treat. Although several people in the dead knight wanted to say something, in the end he still listened to Fen Lin's words. The happiest person is Yan Yuanbai. The strength of Jia Land is very terrifying. The only time they failed in their mission was when they met their master's Disha. Fen Lin definitely couldn't kill Yunyan alone, and maybe Fen Lin could still have some words with him. Had his own reasons, Fen Lin knew the exact address of the message sent by Kakiokiao. Mountain forest located west of Jiangnan. It is located on the outskirts of a small county called Jin. The message was sent, but they were different from those headless flies. They had to wait for the fragments. In addition to the map, the fragments also have a function, that is, they are the key to the coffin. There are 4 fragments in total and all must be present before they can be opened. Kai Lin has spread the news. If anyone has the fragments in their hands, they can contact him. Fen Lin lay down on the sofa to rest. He had nothing to bring, he only needed a scalpel. If he really knows Yunyan, he will show no mercy this time. At around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Kakiokiao sent a text message to Fen Lin, saying that someone had contacted Wang Quan. Currently there is only one left. Fen Lin waited silently. I wasn't in a hurry. Even if he really killed Yunyan, he had no intention of telling anyone else in the dark night. Leave them a thought. Especially Yan Yuanbai. Waiting until night, the remaining owner of the fragment did not appear. Zhou Wang returns alone today. Zhao King has one less follower and is now safe. Fen Lin, that bodyguard is so powerful and elusive. Zhou Wang returned to the villa and found Fen Lin on the sofa, so she couldn't wait to say it. When he comes back today, he plans to let him get back together in the car. But Otto Sato said the route was already known and there was no need to take a bus. He drove to the villa, saw the other party arriving, and headed to the villa diagonally on the other side of the door. This is the teacher invited by Yishin, Fen Lin explained with a smile. Your fiancée is really amazing. Zhu Ruang puffed her lips slightly. I don't want to be sarcastic. She is really amazing. Fen Lin smiled slightly and said nothing. After dinner, Zhu Ruang locked all the doors and windows in the villa like a thief. Then he pointed at Fen Lin and said, You sleep in my room today. Xiaoling, you are so open-minded. Fen Lin showed a lascivious smile. What are you thinking? You sleep in my room and I will sleep in yours, Zhu Ruang said coldly, saving the woman from returning. Fen Lin is her man, so she must protect him and not let other women steal him from her. Early the next morning, Zhu Ruang opened her eyes, sat hard on Fen Lin's quilt, and a blush appeared on her cheeks. Here in Fen Lin, he didn't know why, but he slept peacefully. Stretching, he opened the door, just in time to see the door to his room open. Jinku Jiku Yuan and greeted Zhu Ruang. Good morning. What the hell? Zhu Ruang rushed towards Fen Lin again. After breakfast, Zhu Ruang went to the company. Fen Lin hasn't been doing anything, occasionally going to the diagonal door to chat, and occasionally returning to his villa to rest. Finally, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he received a text message from Kakiokiao. A 4th person was also contacted. Fen Lin greeted Eri and the others and set off towards Jinp in the south of the Ants River. It was already after 4 in the afternoon when he got on the bus. After arriving at Jinp County City, it was already dark. Because there are only 2 cars that go to this small county every day. If I had known before, I would have driven here alone. Fen Lin continued walking towards the western mountains, wanting to find a small hotel near the mountains and stay there for one night. On the road, next to a telephone pole, there was a woman with heavy makeup. He winked at Fen Lin and said, Handsome boy, would you like to relax? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novellas, we cordially invite you to visit our channel. There you will find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in the world of incredible novels. Chapter 211 I'm going to play a big game. Fen Lin looked at the woman and walked over. This small county is so remote. I can't even find a hotel on my mobile phone. So when you're looking for a place to live, you don't know everything. The young people of this small place come out. I'm working, but there are no good attractions here. Who can open a subsidized hotel? The woman took out a cigarette from her pocket, lit it herself, took a drag, and said, I know some people who rent houses, and they all rent residential houses. Okay, I'll stay for a week at most. Now it's getting done. Late, so it's convenient. Fen Lin took out 200 yuan out of his pocket and handed it to the woman. Travel expenses. Haha, that's it. Thanks, boss. The woman suddenly smiled and showed some respect to Fen Lin. Follow me. Fen Lin followed the woman along several paths to a person's house. The houses on this street resemble the rows of small patios in the countryside. Brother Song, we have guests. The woman shouted loudly. Here we go. A middle-aged man in his 50s walked out of the family courtyard room chewing on a cucumber. Brother Song has a lot of houses in his hands, so I'll leave first. Before leaving, the woman gave Fen Lin a business card. Boss, if you need to relax, come see me. Fen Lin waved his hand. Helpless head women still have requirements. Do you want to live in a house? Brother Song walked over and asked. Well, I want a house away from the peak in the west. I'll live there for a few days. Fen Lin took out 1,000 yuan from his pocket and handed it to the middle-aged man. I will give you 1,000 yuan first. If I live there. If it has been more than 7 days, you ask me for money again. It's the house in the west again. Yesterday, a man came to me and said he wanted to live in the house in the west. Brother Song looked at the mountain peak in the west strangely. If Fen Lin was the first person to give him so much money at once, he would still be surprised. The person before the critical moment was much more majestic than Fen Lin. It was Zhao 10,000, so he didn't get too excited when he saw Fen Lin's money. Fen Lin explained with a smile. I don't know what he does. But I just want to take a video of the mountain in the morning. It turns out that he is a video enthusiast. Brother Song smiled and went to the room and took out a large string of keys, and then rode an electric bicycle to take Fen Lin to the top in the west. There is a row of houses a few hundred meters from the top of the mountain. Brother Song took Fen Lin to the third house far from the top of the mountain. And handing the key to Fen Lin, you can use water and electricity as you like. If there's nothing else, I will go. Thank you very much. Fen Lin sent Brother Song away and entered it was a very ordinary rural house. Relatively speaking, it is similar to the urban village where Fen Lin lives in Zhang City. He opened the door of the living room and found that there was still a lot of dust on the table. Some necessities were all used, but they were all covered with a layer of dust. Fen Lin did not go to the bedroom. He removed the sheets covering the sofa, and saw that the sofa was still clean. I am going to rest here for the next few days. This breath. As soon as Fen Lin lay down, he felt the fluctuations in the neighbor's room, a master in the transformation realm. Some people have arrived a long time ago. Fen Lin didn't care. What he was waiting for now was Kakiokiao's Guaikuan and others. Suddenly, Fen Lin's cell phone vibrated. He took it out and looked at it. It was a call from the What's Wrong, Xiaoyu. Fen Lin said over the phone. Brother Fen Lin, I just received news that Liu Nine is leading a group of people to leave. I heard that they are going to Jiangnan. Tong Yu's voice came from there. Fen Lin narrowed his eyes. It seemed that what happened this time was true. Liu Nine really wants to come here. Involuntarily, Fen Lin clenched his fists. Bao Yu, I will definitely avenge you this time. I have known this news for a long time. I want to go to the cemetery of the founder of Huanquan, right? Fen Lin asked with a smile. It seems that you are going to. If something important happens, remember to broadcast it live. Tong Ju said and hung up the phone. Fen Lin looked at the phone and was stunned for a long time, then smiled bitterly. He still doesn't believe Fen Lin, who has always considered himself a righteous man. In fact, he chatted with the saint of the 9 Nevers as if he were a friend. Fen Lin turned off the lights, lay down on the sofa and waited for dawn. Early in the morning, footsteps suddenly sounded in Fen Lin's courtyard. Fen Lin suddenly opened his eyes, and the tasks done throughout the year made him develop a habit. He never fell asleep in a strange place. He is a master in this transformation realm. Fen Lin, that is, his neighbor, said to himself. Click. With a crisp sound, the door to Fen Lin's room opened quietly. The moonlight shines today. A silver light enters the room through the window. Fen Lin squinted slightly and found a man wearing an Ultraman mask. However, judging from her figure, she should be a woman. This man approached Fen Lin little by little and stood in front of Fen Lin's sofa. Fen Lin remained motionless, wanting to see what he was going to do. If she dared to commit suicide, Fen Lin would kill her. At this moment, the woman raised her hand and shook Fen Lin violently. Fen Lin pretended to be stunned and opened his eyes, just in time to see Ultraman's mask in front of his face. He stopped for a moment and felt like he should scream, otherwise it would be too embarrassing. Ah! Fen Lin shouted. Roar! The woman shouted at Fen Lin and immediately ran out of the living room. Fen Lin did not kick him out because the other party had already jumped into the neighbor's yard. He cursed secretly. Your grandmother turned out to be a joke. Fen Lin planned to teach him a lesson tomorrow. If he were a normal person, he could scare her psychologically. Early the next morning, someone knocked on Fen Lin's door. He got up from the couch, walked out, and opened the door. In front of him was a beautiful woman dressed in casual clothes with short shoulder-length hair. A few years younger than Fen Lin, his big eyes flickered and were full of cunning. Asshole. Did you scare me yesterday? John Ran pointed at Fen Lin and shouted. This woman is the person who was in the transformation realm yesterday. She unexpectedly beat him up. Fen Lin was originally ready to expose him, but found that the other party was deliberately showing fear. Could it be possible? Someone clearly threatened me yesterday, as if he was wearing an Ultraman mask, Fen Lin explained. What? Did you see that ghost too? John Ran looked scared. I heard that a boy died on the mountain before, with an Ultraman mask on his face. Shit. Really? Fake. Fen Lin pretended to be surprised. It's true. No, I am moving out. I don't dare to live here anymore. Brother, I advise you to leave quickly. After John Ran finished speaking, he hurried into his house. Sure enough, the corners of Fen Lin's mouth raised slightly. His purpose was simply to scare himself. The other party is also kind-hearted and there will definitely be many experts gathered here later. In the other party's opinion, an ordinary person, is in danger if he stays here. Fen Lin shook his head and prepared to buy breakfast on the street. John Ran passed through the crack in the door and found that Fen Lin was gone. He breathed a sigh of relief and returned to his room. However, a few minutes later, he heard the sound of the door opening on the opposite side. He came out strangely and found Fen Lin entering the house again with soy milk and fried dough sticks. Hey. Aren't you moving? John Ran walked over and asked. No, I'm here to work in this county. The rent here is cheap, not to mention I don't have money to move out. Fen Lin smiled and spread his hands. John Ran asked, aren't you afraid of ghosts? No, I vaguely remember that the ghost is a girl. If she appears again tonight, I will make a big deal of it. Fen Lin chuckled. Chapter 212 Meeting at the Cemetery. John Ran's eyebrows raised. This brat really didn't know how to appreciate someone. Obviously I do this for your own good, since many teachers will be coming here in the last few days. When the time comes to fight for the treasure, it will definitely be bloody. Isn't there a little trash here looking for death? Why don't you go too? Fen Lin looked at John Ran and asked. I'm packing my things and I'll be leaving soon. After all, I'm a woman. After John Ran finished speaking, she turned around and left, apparently wanting to scare him again. Fen Lin shook his head slightly and returned to the room to have breakfast. I plan to go to the back mountain to take a look later. Someone must have passed by. After breakfast, Fen Lin casually rummaged through the closet. As soon as I opened it, I could smell a musty, pungent odor coming from the clothes inside. Fen Lin found a black wine breaker and threw it into the washing machine to wash it. Then dry it again and hang it aside. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Fen Lin touched the jacket and found that it was almost dry, so he put it on and put his head on the back of the jacket. He took off the mask on his body again, looked in the mirror, and found that the disguise was quite good. So, he left here and headed to the back mountain. The back hill is overgrown and there are only a few bare paths formed by people trampling them. Looking at the mountains and forests above, Fen Lin quickly approached. Fen Lin lowered his head and looked at the blood on the ground, which was still fresh. Following the blood stains, he found a middle-aged corpse lying in the distance. There was a wound in the stomach, but the fatal wound was from behind, passing through the heart. It must be the enemy, Fen Lin murmured softly and continued walking. The baby hasn't been born yet. The reason for acting now is definitely not to fight for the treasure. Most of the reasons are due to previous grudges. Fen Lin's eyes suddenly looked to the left, where someone was fighting. He stepped on the branches and ran quickly, finally crouching on the horizontal branches and secretly observing through the leaves. It's her. Fen Lin's eyes narrowed and he met an acquaintance. Sui of the Baiji sect. The person I met when I was buying fire lotus seeds. Fen Lin also gave him one. She was seriously injured and was being attacked by a group of people. Sui, why don't you give up now? A long-haired feminine man pointed at Sui and shouted. You're now, our white sword sect will not let you go. Sui covered his waist with one hand and held a dagger in the other, backing away little by little. Haha, I'm going to kill you now. Who knew that it was our Cation Palace who did it? Yansha waved his hand, break all his hands and feet, so that he doesn't have to sneak attack me while I'm playing. You dare? Sui was furious and roared. Haha, not only do I dare, I also want to record a video and then spread your ugly behavior in the white sword sect. Yansha couldn't help but laugh. Sui clenched her dagger and gritted her teeth. Even if I die, I won't be contaminated by trash like you. He held the sword in his backhand and pointed it at his heart. Boom. At this moment, a figure suddenly fell next to Sui. Sui stopped immediately and took a few steps back instinctively. Looking at this from behind, Sui always felt a little familiar. Who are you? We are from Cation Palace. I advise you to leave immediately. Yet Yuan Shao didn't even know which direction this person appeared from. He must be a teacher. Fen Lin did not speak, just took a step forward. Boom. The mountain road below collapsed instantly. Bullet. Bullet. The sound of electric currents of bright and dark energy was transmitted to the ears of everyone around. Resonance. Yet Yuan Shao's expression changed. He didn't expect this person to be at the master level. His face was gloomy and uncertain, and he finally caught Sui alone. Fen Lin had no intention of killing all of them. In this type of sectarian dispute, it was difficult to distinguish right from wrong. He wouldn't kill all the other party's people just for Sui. I'll give you face this time, let's go. Yet Yuan Shao's eyes were cold. They had more important things to do here. There was no need to compromise his combat power in the face of this realm of resonance. Watching them leave, Sui finally took a breath. He quickly bowed his head towards Fen Lin. Thank you, Senior, for saving his life. Fen Lin didn't say anything else, and his figure jumped slightly and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Could he be this figure in the back? Sui suddenly widened his eyes. During this period, Fen Lin's figure had been in his mind and he couldn't get rid of it. He shook his head slightly. Perhaps he had made a mistake. After checking the wind, he quickly left. Fen Lin finally reached the top of the mountain, where almost 50 people gathered. Next to the top of the mountain, there is a small temple. Inside is a consecrated thousand-armed Avalokitesvara, with many of his hands already broken. Behind the Buddha statue was a dark cave. A bald man came out from inside, walked out of the small temple, and said loudly, "The entrance to the cave has been opened." Huang Qua did not lie. In fact, there is a huge cemetery below. The spectators around him were in an uproar. Since it is a general's tomb, let's go in and take a look first, before the big guys arrive. Without a map, I feel like it's a dead end if I go in. I won't go anyway. They won't share it with us if they have a map. It is better to arrive first than to arrive last. Disciples of the Flying Eagle sect, let us enter first. Everyone around them was talking and had different opinions. Some people choose to enter first, and some choose to wait for the big forces to arrive. Fen Lin didn't want to waste time. He came here just to obtain immortality Gu. By the way, Liu Nian was taken care of. As for other things, he didn't care. At the same time, a group of people appeared at the foot of the mountain. It gives people strong pressure. The leader was an old man with his entire face covered in tattoos that looked like scales and made people numb. He wore a black robe and goatee, and his face was expressionless. Next to the old man is a cute little girl with baby fat. She wears a black princess dress, red boots, and a big red bow on her head. This person is Kakioki. Unlike last time, this time she was wearing a black rabbit backpack, which was really cute. Behind the two people, there were 7 or 8 people. One thing they all have in common is that they have black barcodes on their face or neck. Huang Qua people are here. Yes, it is the most mysterious organization. It is usually difficult to see them in groups. You bring a girl here to such a dangerous place. Aren't you afraid that she will die? It should be that one. The old man's granddaughter, bring me here to see the world. While everyone was talking, the old leader looked at a few people. They set up camp. Yeah. 5th elder. Everyone behind him nodded respectfully and looked for someone in the distance. Where it's flat, things get busy. Kakioki's eyes looked around and finally landed on Fen Lin. Do I clean it up? Fen Lin frowned slightly. Why was this little girl able to find him? 5th elder, give me money, I want to buy snacks. Kakioki raised her head, looked at 5th elder, and stretched out her little hand. Kioki, my lord has given me specifically said that you can only spend 10 yuan on this mission. Miao Huangsheng took out 10 $1 bills from his pocket, took out 2 and handed them to Kakioki. 5th elder, if everyone is here, remember to call me. Kakioki gave. He turned around and secretly raised his fingers in Fen Lin's direction. Chapter 213 Liu Nian's purpose. Fen Lin looked surprised. He hid it very well. He looked around and found that no one was paying attention to him, so he quietly retreated and followed Kakioki. Coming out of the mountaintop, Fen Lin jumped lightly and landed next to Kakioki. I did so well, how could you see me? Fen Lin asked strangely. Didn't I tell you before? The Gu on me really likes you. He recognizes you through your smell. Kakioki grabbed Fen Lin's jacket and jumped on Fen Lin's neck with a slight jump. Damn girl, don't pee on my neck. Fen Lin rolled his eyes, quite enjoying it. Duh. Shameless, I'm not a 3-year-old girl. Kakioki took the $2 in her hand and put them into her rabbit backpack. I was invited to have milk tea. The reason I invited you last time was because I have something to ask you, and now you are the one asking me. Fen Lin quickened his pace and walked down the mountain. As soon as the two reached the foot of the mountain, they met Sui dragging his injured body. He looked back at Fen Lin and then at the cute little girl on his neck. Could it be that the other party is already married and has children? Well, senior, I would like to thank you for saving my life. When you go back and report to the teacher, I will definitely thank you. Sui bowed his hand respectfully. Fen Lin, were you able to save her? Kaikiokiao asked, tilting her head. Fen Lin. You are indeed Fen Lin. Sui was surprised and looked at him excitedly. Fen Lin raised his hands, grabbed Kaikiokiao's fleshy face, and pulled hard a few times. Who told you to call me by my name? Can't you see that I'm pretending? Ah. I forgot. Kiokiao stuck out her tongue. Fen Lin, do you have something to hide? Sui asked from the side. My enemy will also come. If I show my true face, I'm afraid he will be scared. Fen Lin nodded and said with a smile. Remember, don't say hello when we meet again. Sui nodded. Fen Lin said goodbye to Sui and took Kaikiokiao away. The two reached the path at the foot of the mountain, and Fen Lin asked, is that old man one of ours? It's quite strong. No, they are from the Presbyterian Church, and I am the only one this time. Kaikiokiao whispered. Those people are very bad. We're just acting for each other. Your little girl is quite smart. Fen Lin was a little surprised. Normal people are still playing in the mud when they're 7 or 8 years old. HNPH. I am naturally beautiful. Kaikiokiao couldn't help but raise her head and hum. Fen Lin took Kaikiokiao to the county town center, picked her up and bought her a big cup of milk tea. Kaikiokiao sat on her lap. Fen Lin, drinking milk tea with a look of enjoyment. By the way, you just mentioned your enemies, who are they? Do you need my help? Kaikiokiao turned around and asked. No need. Fen Lin raised his chin and looked indifferent. By the way, besides you and me, who else is involved in the fragments? This time. The first person to notify was an ordinary family, but I heard the family specially hired people from Jia Land as bodyguards. Besides him, there is another person who was very mysterious, and I don't know until now. Kaikiokiao said while holding the milk tea in her arms. The land of the 9 netherworlds. Fen Lin's eyes gradually narrowed and it seemed that Liu Nine would really come. At the same time. An ordinary small hotel in Young City. 2 people wearing masks and sunglasses entered the room. After arriving at the room, one of the women opened her laptop and hacked into the hotel's computer. All of their information was deleted, including the surveillance that came here. The woman then took off her mask and sunglasses. This person is none other than Liu Nine. Next to Liu Nine was Liu Hu. Shao Nyan, are you sure Fen Lin will go to Jiaodan to look for you? Liu Hu asked, sitting on the chair next to him. I'm sure, I know him very well. Not only will he go, but he will also bring other members of Dead Knight there. Liu Nyan's face seemed to have been sure of it for a long time. So, the guards here at Yidan must be empty now. Liu Hu smiled and nodded, as expected of you, Shao Nyan. Uncle Hu, you are thinking too much. He definitely won't be able to make it that long. Remote mission. Let Men Cheng Shen go. Liu Nyan quickly tapped his fingers on the notebook. Yan Yubai probably won't go either, or even just takes a Jin with him. Hey, I don't know. He's fine anyway, everything's still on the same page. Give it to him. Liu Hu sighed helplessly. Okay, now Zhu Ruang has been confirmed to be in the company, and Yidan's specific location is still unknown. Liu Nyan looked at Liu Hu and said calmly. Uncle Hu, now I'm sending a message to the assassin who captured Yi Shin. She told us the address, go and kill her. Kill her? Liu Hu asked strangely. Yes, kill her, pretend to be Fen Lin's friend, let Yi Shin go, and then secretly follow her. Liu Nyan raised her chin and said with a smile. My daughter was arrested for 2 days and was finally let go. First, it's time to inform Mom. Okay, I'll leave right now. Liu Hu put on his sunglasses and mask. Liu Nyan reminded. Uncle Hu, Men Cheng Shen may be there, don't act rashly. I know, Liu Hu nodded. The other side. Du Qingyu, who was lying on the sofa, called with her cell phone. They sent me a message asking about my current location. They will send someone to take Yi Shin away. Du Qingyu looked around. Don't answer yet, 5th girl, call Fen Lin. Men Cheng Shen looked at Jingu Jiqihui. Okay, 2nd master, Jingu Jiqihui called Fen Lin immediately. Fen Lin took Kaikiokiao to a barbecue restaurant for lunch and suddenly received a call from Jingu Jiqihui. When he heard the news of what had happened, his face darkened. Mistaken. If he followed common sense, he should bring the Death Knight Master to Liu Nai now. But now Liu Nai sent someone to pick up Yi Xin. Oh. You all died in Zhu Ruan's villa first. Let Du King Yu and Yi Dan be in the villa and see what state the person who picked up Yi Xin is in this time. Fen Lin paused and continued. If the residents above, capture them directly. If it resonates downstairs, pretend to let the other party take Yi Xin away, and you and the fourth son will secretly follow. Okay, boss. Jinguji Okada agreed. Fen Lin hung up the phone and closed eyes, pondering what was going on. Liu Nian received the address and took Liu Hu there in person. During this period, Liu Hu put on a Bluetooth headset on his left ear, put on a mask, and prepared everything. Arriving at Zhu Ruan's villa area, Liu Hu got out of the car and entered the villa according to the location provided by the assassin. For security reasons, Liu Nian came within range of the wireless network near the villa area. She connected to the network here, took the opportunity to invade the server, and recovered the monitoring. She herself was still very surprised at how the murderer moved the hostages to the villa area suddenly, while searching for surveillance in the area. The villa, he saw Fen Lin's shadow. Uncle Tiger, retreat quickly. Spread out. Liu Nian shouted over the intercom. At the same time, everyone hiding in Zhu Ruan's house waited silently. Men Changshen's expression changed and he immediately said, "It's the realm of divine orifices." Sikam Jin was the first to run away. Chapter 214 Everyone is going home. When Liu Hu heard this voice, he was about to ask why. A beautiful person has arrived in front of Liu Hu. Uncle Tiger, this is a trap. I didn't expect that the assassin and Fen Lin were on the same team. Liu Nian's voice came from the Bluetooth headset. It's Sikam Jin. Liu Hu said sternly, Sikam Jin is here. Sikam Jin. Could it be, Jinguji Okada is here too? Liu Hu continued. Haha, that's it. Yi Dan must be here too. Uncle Tiger, don't be obsessed with fighting. Run away immediately. Liu Nian immediately copied the surveillance video here and copied the video recordings of the past 3 days. After that, he immediately started the car and headed to Zhu Ruan's company. Liu Nian parked the car in front of Zhu Ruan's company building, the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and he hadn't felt panic for a long time. He opened his laptop and turned on the monitoring he had just done. Browse 10 times faster. Fen Lin, Men Changshen, Sikam Jin, Shanggong Temple, Yan Yuebai, Yi Dan, Yi Xin. Liu Nian watched the video and called out their names one by one. He adjusted the video to the end and found that only Fen Lin was gone. Boss, you have changed. It seems that I will have to change my strategy for your actions in the future. Liu Nian put on his Bluetooth headphones, jumped out of the car and walked towards Zhu Ruan's company, but I'm still the one who wins in the end. Hello, may I ask you? Before the security guard could finish speaking, his body went limp. Liu Nian walked over and supported his body, letting him lie on the table. No wonder you were so calm when I said I would catch Yi Xin, Liu Nian said to himself all the way to the company lobby. Hello, how can I help you? Tan Hong saw Liu Nian coming and walked over with a smile. She didn't recognize all the new employees in the company. But she was sure that the woman in front of her was definitely not one employee here. Because, she is too big. Among the current owners of the company, no one is older than Zhu Ruang. But the woman in front of her was as tall as Zhu Ruang, plus she had a kind face. I'm a good friend of Fen Lin. Let Zhu Ruang know immediately that I have something urgent to ask him. Liu Nian showed a gentle smile. It turns out that he is a friend of Fen Lin. Mr. Zhu was in the office on the top floor. Tan Hong pointed to the elevator in the distance. Thank you. Liu Nian entered the elevator and waited quietly. It rang. When the elevator reached the top floor, Liu Nian saw the president's office in the distance at a glance. He opened the door and walked in without knocking. Who are you? Who let you in? Zhu Ruang thought it was Fen Lin, but when she saw that it was a woman, she asked with a cold face. Liu Nian narrowed her eyes with a smile. Let me introduce myself, my name is Liu Nian. It's you. Sato Yin, who was sitting on the sofa next to him, suddenly became angry and stabbed Liu Nian with a dagger in his hand without hesitation. Do you know me? Looking at my figure, I should be a servant of Jindu Temple, right? Liu Nian gently raised his palm. Boom. Boom. There was a loud noise and Sato Yin's jumping body suddenly flew back, breaking the sofa into pieces. He bit my blood and fell unconscious on the spot. You, Zhu Ruang's pupil shrank suddenly. Don't be nervous, Liu Nian is probably not dead. With a smile and put his hands on his desk, who are you from Fen Lin? I am his wife. Zhu Ruang said coldly. Haha, there are quite a few people who claim to be his wife. With a smile, we are married. Zhu Wang took out her phone, opened the photo album, and clicked on a photo. This was the marriage certificate of Lin Feng. See, but since he arrived in Yun City, there has been no chance. Unexpectedly, the first person who looked at him was this unknown woman. Seeing this photo, Liu, who was still smiling, stopped smiling. HNPH. You must be Feng Lin's fiancé too, right? Let me tell you, Feng Lin and I love each other very much. Get out of our sight as soon as possible. Zhu Wang stood up and looked at Liu coldly. Broken. Liu slapped Zhu Wang in the face. Her body flew diagonally and hit the wall next to her. Blood flowed, dyeing the white wall red. Feng Lin is really depraved. He would marry a loser like you, Liu whispered to himself. You sad. Feng Lin likes a loser like me, but he doesn't even like you. Zhu Wang covered her head wound and sneered at Liu. Do not be put off. Liu walked over and kicked Zhu Wang in the stomach. Her body flew upside down, shattered the glass behind her, and fell from the 10-story office building. Zhu Wang looked on in horror, staring at the sky in disbelief. Were you dying? So reluctant. Oh. A figure stepped on the wall of the building, landed on the ground in the blink of an eye, and grabbed Zhu Wang with one hand. Although she did not fall, the powerful impact still shook Zhu Wang's body and made her brain dizzy. Since you are Feng Lin's wife, you are still useful. Liu grabbed Zhu Wang and quickly ran into the desert outside the company's back wall. Just after climbing the wall, Liu body suddenly froze on the spot. A voice came from his Bluetooth headphones. Hey. Who's on the other side? You're a bit inexperienced as a teacher. Hearing this voice, Liu's head turned quickly. Finally, he showed a smile and said, Oh, you, long time no see. On the other hand, Jinguji Akada was stunned on the spot. Sikon Jin's dagger penetrated Liu's shoulder and pinned his body to the ground. Sikon Jin stepped on the tip of the dagger with his foot and wiped the wound on his hand with a white handkerchief. Noticing Liu's expression, he asked calmly, What's wrong? It's Liu. Jinguji Akada lifted the headphones and placed them next to Sikon Jin's ears. Sikon Jin's pupils narrowed to points and he asked calmly, Are you in Yun City? Ms. Sikon, long time no see. Liu smiled and said hello. I'm in Yun City, to be precise, I'm in Zhu Wang's house. Bien. This divine orifice realm master must be at the earth demon level. He's not dead yet, Sikon Jin said calmly. Haha, my wife and I have reunited. Feng Lin's wife is not dead. Let's make an exchange and return to our respective homes, Liu said with a smile. Sikon Jin put on white gloves and grabbed Liu's joints tightly. Click. Click. Liu's forehead was soaked with cold sweat, but still gritted his teeth and made no sound. Sikon Jin took out the dagger, raised his body and said, Go back. Jinguji Akada nodded. Zhu Wang Sikon Jin appeared here and threw Liu to the ground. This young man is really good. He was captured alive. Men Chengsheng smiled and nodded. The second master, Zhu Wang, was arrested by Liu. Sikon said calmly. Men Chengsheng suppressed his smile and took the Bluetooth headset from Jinguji Akada. Damn girl, obediently send Haha, second master, I'm not married yet and I don't want to die, Liu's voice came. P.S. Brothers, please support me. This book is free forever. The author really does it for love. Chapter 215 The daughter-in-law I found really has her own tricks. Send Zhu Wang here and apologize to Feng Lin properly. As long as I'm here, that kid won't dare to do anything to you, Men Chengsheng said into the Bluetooth headset. Third sister. Come back. I know you have difficulties. You must have been forced by the people in Jialand, right? Yan Yubai shouted loudly. He had the best relationship with Liu back then and never believed that Liu would betray them. Seventh sister, no one is forcing me. We don't agree. You and I are not the same people. Liu took a deep breath and said loudly. Within 10 minutes, send my companions to the wasteland. Behind Zhu Wang's company. Or I'll kill her. Liu didn't dare to waste time. If Feng Lin was dragged back, things would get into trouble. Currently, he still has a solid advantage because he has a stronger master. They still don't know what his true purpose is this time. As long as Men Chengsheng and Sikon Jin can be attracted, Liu can confirm that the remaining few are no match. Taking Yi down was easy. Liu was very sure that in front of her, the second master would not trust her. Sikon Jin came alone and, Second master, I will go, Sikon Jin said expressionlessly. No, we don't know if there are experts around Liu, so we should be careful, he said, we will both go together. Second master, why not? Aren't we all leaving? I'm still here. The masters in 2 resonances are enough to protect you if you bring them with you. Men Qingshan nodded. In the end, several people from Dead Knight, along with Liu Hu, ran towards the back of Zhu Ruan's company. As for Yi Shen, Yi Dan, and Du Qingyu, they were all hiding in the villa. The surrounding area is protected by the Jinguji Ok masters. Across the wasteland, Liu Nian took out his mobile phone and sent a message. After that, he squatted in front of Zhu Ruan and said with a light smile, "Do you have a feeling now? You are a waste and always need others to save you." Zhu Ruan clutched her fists and veins appeared on the back of her hands. I must say that Liu Nian touched her weak spots, especially for a woman who excels like Zhu Ruan. Her belief since childhood is that women are never weaker than men. She has continued to live this way. From the moment she planned to marry Feng Lin, she decided to support Feng Lin to have more say. But now, Feng Lin has helped her too much. She needs Feng Lin to rescue her again and again. As the other party said, she became a waste. No. You're the waste. Zhu Ruan burst into tears and suddenly stood up from the ground and punched Liu Nian. Liu Nian smiled again and again, easily dodged Zhu Ruan's fist, grabbed her neck with one hand, and lifted her high. Hey, I really don't understand Feng Lin. If you marry a loser like you, your children will definitely be losers in the future. Liu Nian said with a slight smile. Click. Suddenly, Zhu Ruan lowered her head and bit Liu Nian's hand. Liu Nian frowned and threw Zhu Ruan away forcefully. Boom. Zhu Ruan's body hit the wasteland heavily. She was so shocked that she mimicked blood. However, he clenched his fists again and rushed towards Liu Nian. Liu Nian's gentle face suddenly became fierce. What I hate most is persistent trash like you. Wouldn't it be better to lie on the ground and wait for death? Boom. Zhu Ruan had not yet touched Liu Nian and her body felt like a huge rock weighing her down. The body suddenly fell to the ground. Blood flowed from the mouth again. Me. I'm not a waste. Zhu Ruan growled, her white teeth dyed red. He pressed his hands hard against the ground and stood up from the ground, even though his bones were creaking. Boom. Suddenly, Zhu Ruan's feet sank into the ground. She suddenly stood up and punched Liu Nian in the stomach. Liu Nian stepped back 2 meters in the blink of an eye, looked at the dust on his clothes, and then looked at Zhu Ruan, his face full of surprise. Impossible. In fact, you can use ki and you can go through so many things at once. Liu Nian gently stroked the dust on his body and his eyes gradually became cold. Zhu Ruan looked at her hands in surprise. How do you feel? He lowered his head and put his foot on the ground. Boom. The ground shook and his shoes sank a few inches into the ground. Have I become an ancient warrior? Zhu Ruan couldn't believe it, and then smiled disdainfully at Liu Nian. Trash, your grandmother has also become an ancient warrior. Let's fight. Boom. Zhu Ruan's body hit the ground again and ate a mouthful of dirt. Liu Nian didn't know when he came behind her. He stepped on Zhu Ruan's back and looked forward. Yan Yuebai was pushing Men Qingshan's wheelchair and walking in that direction. Sikon Jin carried Liu Hu and followed him. Jinguji Abgadu held the dark sword in his left hand and looked at Liu Nian. Damn girl, you're getting worse and worse, and you're actually punching and kicking ordinary people, huh? Men Qingshan looked at Zhu Ruan strangely. He turned out to be in the middle stage of Menjin. Not well. Even with the blessing of Fire Lotus Seed, it is impossible to progress so quickly. I remember that before I was still an ordinary person. Haha, that guy's very good at finding a daughter-in-law. Men Qingshan smiled and took out his cigarette case, looking at Liu Nian. Second Master, Empress, Fifth Son, Seventh Sister, long time no see. Liu Nian showed a soft smile, like a spring breeze. You're getting braver and braver, you're the only one. Jinguji Qihu stepped forward. Second Master, I will capture her alive. Didn't you see the hostage? Men Qingshan looking at Jinguji Abgadu said. When two armies fight, there will always be casualties, Jinguji Ab said calmly. Asshole. Shameless. You just want me to die so you can occupy Finland. Zhu Ruan suddenly raised her head and cursed at Jinguji Qihu. What occupation? The boss is mine. Jinguji pursed his lips. When the boss and I slept together, you didn't know where you were. Okay, don't waste your time, damn girl. Remember, don't involve innocent people next time. I, the old man, do not want to get involved in the affairs of young people, said Men Qingshan smoking his pipe calmly. Liu Hu looked at everyone and found that they were motionless. He immediately stood up and ran towards Liu Nian. Second Master, you must be very relieved. Now you have no hostages. I have another hostage here. Liu Nian moved his feet away from Zhu Ruan's back and looked at Men Qingshan with a smile. Third Sister, we believe you, Yan Yuebai said loudly. Oh. Liu Nian kicked him in the back. I will definitely take revenge. Zhuang exhaled sharply, remembering this insult. Looking coldly at Liu Nian, he turned and left. Yi Bai vibrated, looked at the message, and his expression suddenly changed. Second Master. A master broke into the villa and took Yi Dan away. Chapter 216. The third Yangan, Dream of Death. Hearing this, Men Changshen's expression suddenly changed and he shouted sternly, "Damn girl! Is that you?" Second Master, even if you have great ability, you still can't achieve it. Liu Nian grabbed Liu, whose body quickly ran towards the mountains behind. She did not dare to stay even a second longer, otherwise she would be caught by Man Changshen. It turns out that his target was Yi Dan all along. When he's not here, I'll leave Yi Dan. Where can I put my old face? Men Changshen clipped his cigarette case to his pants and took out his crutches. From behind the wheelchair with one hand. The folded crutch unfolded in his hand. He raised his crutch and slammed it hard on the ground. Oh! Men Changshen's body disappeared instantly. Sikon Jin shouted at the two people around him. As soon as he finished speaking, the wasteland under his feet was like paper, tearing and collapsing. Boom! The earth shook violently and a strong storm swept across the land like a sword. Sikon Jin was the first to get out of the way, appeared in front of Zhuang, grabbed her shoulders and walked away. As for Jin Gujiqu and Yan Yuibai, they were directly blown away by the strong wind. After the storm, within a radius of 20 meters, the land was torn apart and made a mess. Duh! Yan Yuibai stood up from the ground and took a mouthful of dirt. Jin Guji turned his back on the storm and pressed his scabbard against the ground to stabilize himself. Turning to the center of the storm, a wheelchair wheel flew off. Zhuang looked into the distance with straightened eyes. What's going on here? I don't know, I thought it was a bomb. Second Master, this stinky old man, doesn't he know you're here? Yan Yuibai rolled his eyes and dusted himself off. Second Master is anxious. Jinguji Akahu shook her hair, feeling surprised that Second Master was still so strong. Sikon Jin shook his head slightly. This stinky old man kept saying that he was old and couldn't survive anymore. Not well. He remembered that Feng Lin had said before that the Second Master's strength was like an abyss and he could never see the bottom. At the same time. On the mountain road in the suburbs, 4 hooded middle-aged men took off their hoods respectively. The 4 of them bowed their heads respectfully to a middle-aged man. Thank you, senior, for saving your life. They did not expect that there were actually 2 grandmasters there to protect them. This middle-aged man has short hair and a scar at the corner of his eye, which gives people a strong feeling of oppression. I'm not saving you, my goal is just to catch her. The middle-aged man looked at the unconscious Yi Dan next to him. I don't know your senior's name, but if there's a chance, he will definitely repay you one day. A short man with a respectful look on his face. Remonsored. The middle-aged man stood with his hands behind his back, looking proud. What? The Kendo that ranks 5th in the god-killing software. Shit. Aren't these the top 5 assassins in the world? I once heard the news that it seems that the god-killing software is ranked 8th. The violets are all in the divine orifice realm, so the broken 5th sword is not. The 4 assassins here looked worshipful and not they expected to see the legendary figure. I really don't know how much money the boss spent this time in order to hire this great god. Kandao seemed indifferent, he just owed Liu Nian a favor. Originally, he didn't plan to take action, but this time he planned to go. To see the excitement in the general's cemetery. Jiangnan and Jiangbai were next to each other, so he accepted Liu Nian's request and went to Jiangbai first. Sir, did you succeed? Liu Nian's voice came from the phone. Your question makes me feel very uncomfortable. Isn't success inevitable? Kandao looked at Yi Dan with an indifferent expression. Besides me, there are several assassins here. I will hand the woman over to you. I'm going to Jiangnan. Sir, please send the person here in person, because, D.A. Crash. D.A. In the forest, a clear sound of colliding metals was heard, which was very rhythmic. It sounds once every 2 seconds. Lord Kandao. Leave that woman alone and run. Liu Nian heard the voice and immediately screamed. This sound is the nightmare of countless masters. The sound of death made their souls tremble. Because Men Changshen stood up on crutches. Kandao took Yi Dan with him and couldn't escape at all. The only way to survive is to escape on your own. Liu Nian didn't want this master to die here. There would be too many opportunities to use him in the future. Were you talking? Kandao hung up the phone and looked into the distance. Men Changshen staggered towards this side on crutches. The previous sound was his crutch hitting the ground. It seems that I have saved my face. Men Changshen looked at Yi Dan in the distance and said in relief. Damn. Who the hell are you? Get out now. You can't get out. No outsider can know about our mission this time. Senior, I'm going to kill him. Facing the flattery of the remaining 4 assassins, Kanda did not say a word. He just looked at the old man in front of him. He really didn't understand why Liu Nan let him escape. It's not me to not know her own strength. Hey, go. The woman is staying. Then Cheng Shen looked at the people in the distance and shook his head slightly. You have such a strong tone. A stinking cripple dares to talk to us like that. Do you know who we are? Senior, I will help you kill him. A tall assassin walked towards Men Cheng Shen with a dagger. The remaining assassins realized that Kanda had not stopped him and wanted to flatter him, so they all ran towards Men Cheng Shen. Wait a minute, I'll dress up and maybe I'll be qualified to talk to you. Men Cheng Shen leaned on a cane and took out a mask from the inside pocket of his jacket. Smell the old man, do you think that you are wearing a... The tall assassin who approached first looked at the mask, his voice suddenly stopped, and he was stunned on the spot. On the white mask, there was a black calligraphy that says to. Duh. The assassin's dagger fell to the ground. The mask may be fake, but the person in the legend is also lame and missing a letter. You can't cut off a letter just to pretend to beat him. Dead night no. 2. Dead dream, plop. The tall assassin's legs gave way and he knelt on the ground. He was shaking with fear, his mind went blank, and he hit his head on the ground, not daring to raise his head at all. What the hell? A new assassin approached Men Cheng Shen without hesitation. As soon as his body approached Men Cheng Shen, he began to bleed from his orifices and fell down very naturally. Without any vibration, it just lies down naturally and loses its life. The 2 who were still standing were stunned. What happened? The 2 immediately knelt, imitating the first assassin, and placed their heads on the ground. Loud crash. Dia and Men Cheng Shen walked towards Yi Dan unsteadily on crutches. Haha. The Yangon map is nothing special. How many people don't bother to be on the list? Kanda took out a broken knife from his body and bowed slightly. Let me know the 3rd Yangon today. Kanda's eyes flashed with light, he arched his body, and the ground under his feet exploded in an instant. Oh. The remaining sword jumped into the air and slashed at Men Cheng Shen. Come on, let me show you my unique ability. Dia and Men Cheng Shen calmly walked towards Yi Dan, looking at Yi Dan and not paying attention to the broken knife at all. Chapter 217 Instant Death. This act of contempt angered Kanda. He has maintained his special abilities to reach the top 3 on the God of Killing list. How can a mere Yangon expert compare to an assassin who fights bloody battles? We did it. Kanda raised the corner of his mouth and his gun had already reached Men Cheng Shen's head. But this is just a secondary image. His real attack, brush. A clear voice sounded. Kanda's body suddenly went numb, as if electrocuted, preventing him from moving. He lowered his head and found that the tip of the crutch was coming out of his heart. Men Cheng Shen appeared behind him at some unknown time. To be precise, he saw through his attack and stabbed him in the heart with precision. Call. His body suddenly lit up with golden flames and his body gradually turned into dust in the flames. Haha. I was careless. It turned out to be the realm of penetration. His voice was full of bitterness, and as soon as he finished speaking, his body disappeared without a trace. Loud crash. Men Cheng Shen's crutches were resting on the ground and he walked towards Yi Dan again. There was a pause of a second or two. Several assassins knelt on the ground and trembled. Kanda's words were like thunder, hitting their hearts one by one. The legendary meridians are connected and the status is higher than the divine orifice. After a full 10 minutes, they turned around in silence. I found that all the people in front of me had disappeared. Fen Lin received a call from Jinguji Abgada and was very anxious. Liu Nan, that bastard, deliberately leaked the news just to fool him. Take the opportunity to capture Yi Dan. However, this also confirmed that Yi Dan was very important to Liu Nan. Fen Lin, why don't you eat? Kaikioqiao looked at the barbecue in front of her, her eyes turning into crescent moons. I had never eaten these things before. Too delicious. I'm not in the mood. Just when Fen Lin was at his wit's end, Jinguji Abgada called Fen Lin again. What's wrong, Bao? Fen Lin asked. Boss, the second master has recovered Yi Dan. Jinguji Qiu said with a smile. Damn. Second master is amazing. Fen Lin finally breathed a sigh of relief. It was right to invite the second master out of the mountain. I don't know what method the second master used to track Yi Dan from such a long distance. Thinking of this, Fen Lin snatched the barbecue from Kaikioqiao's hand, stuffed it into his mouth, and ate it. Could it be that the second master had some tricks up his sleeve and took the time to ask him for advice and learn this trick? Why are you stealing from me? Kaikioqiao immediately stretched out her hand, but because her arms were too short, she couldn't reach it. You have eaten enough. Be careful and become a fat man, Fen Lin said seriously. I don't eat it every day, Kaikioki sulked as she sat on the small bench with her mouth bulging. Okay, let's go. Fen Lin had eaten and drunk enough, took Kaikioki's little hand, and was ready to go home. Now that things over there have come to an end, he can also take things here seriously. When he returned to the rented house, he found someone at home before opening the door. His strength is in the realm of transformation, so he should still be your neighbor. As if he heard Fen Lin open the door, he immediately jumped into his garden. Fen Lin, there was someone just now. Kaikioki pointed to the courtyard and said. Ignore her. Fen Lin smiled and shook his head. Zhang Ran also had good intentions and must have made sure he left. He opened the door of his house and was about to close it when he found Zhang Ran appearing at the door. Wow! What a cute little sister. Zhang Ran found Kaikioki next to Fen Lin and immediately rushed to rub Kaikioki's little face with her cheek. What are you doing? Presumptuous. Kaikioki pushed Zhang Ran away and wiped her face in disgust. Presumptuous. Haha, little sister is so cute when she speaks. Zhang Ran was not angry at all. He hugged Kaikioki with both hands and lifted her high. Autumn. Fen Lin took Kaikioki away. This little girl's strength was even greater than Zhang Ran. Don't make her angry. Let me hug you. Zhang Ran looked at Fen Lin sadly. I won't let you hug me. Kaikioki leaned into Fen Lin's arms and said coldly. Hey, the little cutie is still angry. My sister will give you a gift. Zhang Ran took out his pocket and found that he had nothing, so he was about to go back to get it. Do you have money? Give me money and I'll let you hug me. Kaikioki said calmly. Money. You told me before. Zhang Ran took out 100 yuan from his pocket and handed it to Kaikioki. Kaikioki immediately grabbed it and stuffed it into the rabbit bag behind her. Hey, little money freak, my sister has nothing but a lot of money. Zhang Ran took out a $100 bills from his pocket. Kaikioki's eyes widened. He actually had so much money. Fen Lin treated her a lot just now. It costs more than 100 yuan. Come on, sister will buy you something to eat. Zhang Ran said with a smile. Fen Lin, where are you going? Kaikioki raised her head and asked. I'm not going. Fen Lin shook his head. Then I won't go either. Kaikioki is still principled. His teacher has told him not to trust anyone easily. And she kept doing it. But Sugu liked Fen Lin very much, so he also had a good impression of Fen Lin. The end result is that Fen Lin is really a good person and becomes the owner's partner. She's not as enthusiastic about other people. We just ate something, beauty, forget it. Fen Lin took Kaikioki back to her room. My name is Zhang Ran. Zhang Ran followed Fen Lin to his room. I found that the room had not been cleaned and the table was covered in dust. It was night when I came to scare Fen Lin yesterday and I didn't see him. Just as he was about to say something, his phone suddenly vibrated. He took it out, looked at the message, and said with a smile, Dear, my sister has to go first. After that, he turned around and ran away. Fen Lin sensed the fluctuation of the other person's aura, and after returning home, he headed to the back mountain. Kaikioki stretched and sat on the sofa when her cell phone rang. Hey, fifth elder. Kioki come back soon, something happened. Miao said in a deep voice. Fen Lin next to him also heard this voice and his expression became solemn. Let's go there, something seems to have happened there. Kaikioki jumped up from the sofa and said in a sweet voice. Okay. I'll still cover my face and we won't communicate with each other for the time being. Fen Lin nodded. Although Yunan will not come, the people from Jialand will definitely come. Knowing Fen Lin's identity could prevent the coffin from being opened. This time Fen Lin did not take the human skin mask, so he had to use this method. I know. Kaikioki nodded. Fen Lin hugged Kaikioki and ran towards the back mountain. Halfway up the mountain, Fen Lin put Kaikioki down and asked her to go first. Fen Lin followed Kaikioki. Top location. Surrounded by a large number of people, in the middle position, the two forces clashed. On one side is the fifth elder Huanquan, Miaongshen. On the other side is the second sect of the Jia word, the 13th Disha, Lianxiangwen. Miaongshen looked around and said loudly, Aren't you embarrassed to steal other people's fragments in front of our Huanquan? Lianxiangwen. Ha ha ha. When did Huanquan become so righteous? In fact, everyone knows that our Lam Jiao is here, so you can't take all the treasure. Liang Jianwen raised his hand. He had 2 fragments in total. Now we have 2 fragments and our Earth Jiao wants half of the treasure. Isn't it too much? Fen Lin squinted, and it turned out that Jia Land had 2 in his hands. Now that the 3 fragments had appeared, Fen Lin also left. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novellas, we cordially invite you to visit our channel. There you will find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 218 Heading to the Grave. Lin fixed his hat and mask and walked over with one hand in his pants pocket. He took out the fragments from his pocket and said with a smile, "I'm here." Miao Huangshan looked at Lin and asked strangely, "Are you someone who has been in contact with us adults?" "Yes, my name is Lin Yi. I have contacted the Lord of the Underworld before." Lin put the fragments back into his pocket and said with a smile, "Shall we go in now?" "No, we should discuss it before entering, so that don't fight when the time comes. Others are enjoying the benefits." As Miao Huangshan spoke, he looked at the people looking around. Lin noticed someone staring at him, so he turned around and found that it was his current rental neighbor, Zhang Ran. Zhang Ran was followed by an old man with white hair, a hunched body and kind eyes. However, this old man is not simple either. "Ha ha ha, I'm actually not that greedy. I'm just a member of a small family. I just need to get one or two good things." Lin smiled and spread his hands. "Brother Lin Yi, why don't you give us the fragments to Jialan, and when we get the treasure, we can share one or two pieces with you." Liang Xianwen is a man with elegant temperament, who wears a suit and has a very friendly smile. But Lin knew that this kind of smiling tiger was the most terrifying. "No, what you gave me must be rubbish. I'd better go in and make my own decision," Lin said very discreetly. "But this time, your goal is, I love you all. Don't even think about Jiaworth. As for the underworld, the Presbyterian Council can't even think about it." Liang Xianwen smiled and nodded. "My little brother is right, I am still the best in the past." Although he had a gentle smile on his face, he had already pronounced the death sentence on Lin in his heart. This kind of lonely little family dares to fight for the treasure they're interested in Jialand. As long as he was in a deserted place, Liang Xianwen was ready to kill Lin and snatch the fragments from him. "Haha, let's each rely on our abilities." Miao Huangshan nodded expressionlessly, and also liked the fragment in Lin's hand. "Miao Huangshan, we are old acquaintances. The role of fragments is not just an app, right?" Liang Xianwen asked. "Yes, this is not a secret. The copper coffin in the center needs fragments to open." Miao Huangshan did not lie, because there was a gap in the coffin, and it could be seen at a glance that it was the shape of the fragments. "Okay, let's look at the mat first." Liang Xianwen took out two fragments from his body. Seeing this, Miao Huangshan also took out the fragments from his body. The same goes for Lin. The three of them put the fragments together to form a hexagonal pattern. Lin carefully observed the lines and found that it was indeed complete. He took out his cell phone and took a photo of the map. The same goes for Miao Huangshan. Liang Xianwen held two fragments of the film in his hands and a young man behind him was responsible for filming. Several people took photographs of the entire route map and recovered the remaining pieces. Well, this cemetery is complicated. There is more than one path leading to the coffin in the center. I wish you good luck. After Miao Huangshan finished speaking, he let Wang Quan and others inside. Liang Xianwen looked at Lin and said to his men, "Follow me." Following Miao Huangshan was more important than getting Lin's fragments. They were originally from Wang Quan, so they must know which path is safe. As for the forest closing, ignore it. The real battle is not now, but the moment when the bronze coffin is opened. Lin looked at the mat calmly and studied the route. Anyway, without themselves, they couldn't open the copper coffin. When Zhang Ran saw this from a distance, he immediately ran over, grabbed Lin's arm, and asked in a low voice, "Did you come alone?" "Yes, you came alone." Lin nodded. "Big fool, this is what your family thinks, letting you take such valuable things alone." Zhang Ran was speechless. He looked around and found that many people were looking at Lin with anxious eyes. Maybe in the next moment everyone will. Even in the distance, the Baijian sect and others were Sui were also looking at Lin. Sui wanted to greet Lin, but Lin had said before that he could not allow his identity to be revealed. She still has a lot of confidence in Lin, he has the realm of divine acuity. "Mr. Wang, let's go in." Zhang Ran looked at the rickety old man, took Lin's arm, and entered the cave. It's dark here and the roads are winding. But Lin is in the divine realm. The vision has long been different from that of ordinary people. Even in this environment, he can still see his surroundings clearly. "Boy, let us protect you this time." Zhang Ran's big sly eyes were full of seriousness. Lin smiled slightly and said, "You also want to covet my treasure, right?" "Me? You're so kind and treat me like a donkey. I don't care about you. Mr. Wang, let's go. Zhang Ran angrily stomped his foot and let go of Feng Lin, Lin's arm sinking further. It's okay, your little girl has a good heart. If I get the treasure, I will give you 1 or 2 pieces. Feng Lin followed and said with a smile. TCH. I don't like this kind of trash. Zhang Ran turned around and looked at the old man. Is it Mr. Wang? Miss, you are right. Mr. Wang nodded with a smile. Finally, several people walked through the cave and reached a depth of about 50 meters. The terrain here is opening up little by little. The interior of the mountain has long been hollowed out. In the distance there is a huge palace made of stone, which just by looking at the area looks like a mansion from the outside. The gate of the palace is a double gate, 3 to 4 meters high and about 2 meters wide. One of the doors was open and the thickness of the stone door could be seen, which was a full 20 or 30 centimeters. There were many people standing outside the palace, chatting and seeming not to enter. Suddenly, a dazzling light lit up in the distance. Feng Lin looked at the light in the distance. It was a sunlight. As for the person holding the light, he knew it. Yan Yuanshao was the young man who had dealt with Su Yi. Yan Yuanshao held the light and approached Feng Lin with a stare. Behind him were several teachers. Boy, hand over the fragments in the map. I am doing this for your own good. There are many crises within the palace. It is easy for you to die alone. Yan Yuanshao brightened Feng Lin's face. Not only did they open the mountain palace, but the rest of the people also gathered around it. Boy, I don't want your fragments. I just want the map you just took. That's right. Your map is a picture anyway. Send it to us and you won't miss it. Hurry up, don't waste everyone's time. There are people here. Bad-tempered guys, I'll kill you. Feng Lin looked at the watching crowd, the corner of his mouth slightly raised. It turned out that he had liked his map. But this is normal. Underworld and G-Land are not something they can provoke at all. To avoid running like a headless fly, he naturally stretched his hand towards Feng Lin's arms. Feng Lin looked at Zhang Ran next to him. Boss, is it time for you to take action at this time? Zhang Ran raised his face, put his hands on his hips, and said, Humph. Just now you were afraid that I would snatch your treasure, but now you know how powerful I am. Is it important? Girl. You have nothing to do here, get out now. Yan Yuanshao pointed at Zhang Ran and shouted, he didn't want to waste time. Here. P.S. Happy April Fool's Day, try to update 100 times today. Chapter 219 Choose one of 3. How are you talking? Mr. Wang, open your mouth. Zhang Ran frowned, pointed at Yan Yuan and smiled coldly. Yeah. The rickety old man behind him, like a ghost, appeared in front of Yan Yuanshao in the blink of an eye. Hit him with a slap. Boom. Yan Yuanshao tilted his head and flew diagonally, sliding across the ground for more than 10 meters before stopping. The lamp in his hand fell to the ground and broke into pieces, plunging the originally bright underground cave into darkness. Yan Yuanshao covered his face. The entire area was numb and swollen. His face was gloomy. What are you doing standing? Do it. Several masters in the Caitian palace immediately broke into power. The other people who originally came too. No wonder this young man dared to snatch the fragments. Unexpectedly, there were 3 masters beside him. Yan Yuanshao covered his face and stood up from the ground. He knew that Feng Lin was also at the master level. When he saved Sui before, he didn't take action because he didn't want to lose his combat power. It's different now. There is a treasure in this man. HMPH. You're just understanding, but you still dare to be presumptuous in front of me. Mr. Wang, destroy them. Zhang Ran crossed his arms and didn't take these people seriously at all. The slightly narrowed eyes of Mr. Wang, who was hunched over, gradually opened. Call. A green light flashed in his eyes. It is particularly dazzling in the dark underground. Divine opening. The expressions of the 3 Caitian palace masters changed greatly. They did not expect this old man to be at the divine aperture realm. Yan Yuanshao was also scared. He couldn't believe it. He didn't expect that in addition to Jiaworth and Quan Quan, other divine orifice forces and realms came. Senior, spare your life. Several masters at the master level were so scared that their legs became weak and they all knelt on the ground. They are masters at the master realm and can easily become elders in ordinary sects. I dare not say that it is easy to become a high-level person even if a person is less than 10,000 people. They haven't enjoyed it enough and they don't want to die like this. Feng Lin stuffed his trouser pockets and looked around disdainfully. Who wanted my mat now? Let's go. The people around him were angry but did not dare to say anything. This boy pretended to be powerful. If the teacher wasn't here, I would have gone and beaten him. Feng Lin approached Yan Yuanshao again and slacked him. Who are you, kid? I have a good character, so forget about scolding me. How dare you scold my little fairy? Who scolded her? How dare you respond? Bang. Fen Lin slapped him again. Yan Yuanshao lowered his head, murderous intent flashed in his eyes, and he wanted to kill this kid on the spot. What are you doing still? Apologize to my little fairy. Fen Lin kicked Yan Yuanshao's brother. Ah. Yan Yuanshao winced in pain, his face turned livid, and he jumped up holding his brother to relieve the pain. I'm sorry. I was wrong, Yan Yuanshao gasped violently and could only endure the pain and bowed his head towards Zhang Ran. Be good. Fen Lin smiled and touched his dog's head. He turned to look at Zhang Ran. Little fairy, let's go. Okay. Zhang Ran smiled and followed Fen Lin. Mr. Wang followed the two of them leisurely. Seeing their figures leaving, Yan Yuanshao stepped on the ground and uttered word by word under his breath. Lin Yi. I'm going to kill you. Fen Lin and others walked into the palace. I discovered that there are luminous pearls on the walls here. It flickers with a dim light, and although it is not bright, at least it will not prevent the ordinary people can see their offenders. Fen Lin took out his mobile phone and opened the photo map he had taken earlier. Zhang Ran and Mr. Wang gathered together and looked at the map. According to the map above, they could all lead to the central area at the bottom. Fen Lin pointed to the image on his phone, but the second one in the middle is the shortest and the first and third ones are several times longer. Which one should I choose? Although the distance of the second one is shorter, it doesn't have any marked agency, Mr. Wang said as he looked at the map. Zhang Ran nodded secretly. The first and third roads were clearly marked with the agency's location. While several people were fighting, a middle-aged man with a broken left arm escaped from the third path. Judging from the position of his broken arm, it was obvious that he had just been cut off. Fen Lin walked over and asked, Grandpa, the people of the underworld and the Nine Nethers did not let us continue and expel us. The middle-aged man cursed secretly. Did they go to the third path? Fen Lin asked. Lin. Yes, I have been following them. At first everyone entered the second line, but there were too many mechanisms inside, so they retreated again. After the middle-aged man finished speaking, he covered his arms and ran out. It seems that the middle path cannot be taken. Mr. Wang, should we take the first or third path? Zhang Ran asked. Miss, the old man is the old dog next to you. I will follow her wherever she goes. There's no point in showing you the way, Mr. Wang said with a smile. Fen Lin patted Zhang Ran on the shoulder and said, Take out your phone and take a photo of this map. What do you want to do? Zhang Ran's expression suddenly changed. I plan to take the second step. As for where you want to go, it's your freedom. Fen Lin has plenty of time. Maybe the second step mechanism can help him cross the divine orifice realm. You're crazy. Didn't you hear what that person just said? The people in Guangquanji Island dare not leave. Are you going to die? Zhang Ran pushed Fen Lin away and opened his mouth angrily. I don't want to waste my time with you. If you don't want the map, I'll go in. Fen Lin simply thought that Zhang Ran was a good person. If he were an ordinary person, he wouldn't say this, let alone share the map. HNPH. I won't die with you. Zhang Ran took out his cell phone from his pocket and took a photo of Fen Lin's map. I'm leaving first. When Fen Lin saw that she had taken photos, he put his hands in his pockets. Advanced and walked towards the second dark hole. Here are the stone steps leading down to the end. Fen Lin took one step at a time, carefully observing everything around him. About 100 meters deep, everything suddenly came back. There was a path here, only 2 meters wide, with a dark abyss on both sides of the path. Even Fen Lin's eyes could not see clearly. Blood. It was still fresh. Could something strange be happening? He was a little anxious to try it and walked towards the path. Aren't you going to give me face? Fen Lin had already walked most of the way and nothing happened, so he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Wait for me. At this moment, Zhang Ran's voice came from behind. She and Mr. Wang also followed them. Why are you here? Come out quickly. Fen Lin turned around and shouted. Humph, you can come, why can't I come? Zhang Ran snorted coldly and walked towards the path. Mr. Wang behind him followed closely. When 3 people were on the road at the same time, the road suddenly sank. Mr. Wang's eyes lit up, he grabbed Zhang Ran and ran out. As the island sinks, countless peaks are revealed. They are so densely populated that there is no place to stand on the road. Immediately afterwards, the road began to slowly ascend and the spikes entered it. However, Fen Lin was not there. In sight. Mr. Wang, he's not dead, right? Zhang Ran panicked and his voice cracked. I was just paying attention to you a moment ago and didn't see him. Mr. Wang shook his head, pointed to the path and said, "This path must be sensitive to gravity and can only support the weight of 1 or 2. No wonder Fen Lin was alone. It's okay for a person to walk so far, but if he steps on it, something will happen." Chapter 220. Roofkeeper. Mr. Wang. "Did I hurt you?" Zhang Ran looked regretful and tears flowed out unknowingly. "It has nothing to do with you. I didn't hear the scream just now. I could have escaped." Mr. Wang comforted him with a smile. "Then let's go find him quickly." Zhang Ran grabbed Mr. Wang's arm. "No need, I suspect that kid knows how to take this path. No one wants to die." Mr. Wang could only give Zhang Ran a white lie. "Let's go another way. Maybe when we arrive, they will already be here." "Yes." Zhang Ran wiped his tears and left with Mr. Wang. Watching them leave, Fen Lin, who was hiding behind a stone on the opposite side of the road, stood up. "I'm finally gone," Fen Lin groaned, stuffed his hands into his trouser pockets and walked deeper. He could feel that the seemingly smooth road was actually going downwards. Suddenly, Fen Lin lowered his head and found that he had stepped on a piece of the ground. 2 2-meter-long metal javelins flew towards Fen Lin one after another. He didn't make a move. Zeng. The javelin suddenly stopped 1 meter away from Fen Lin and fell to the ground. Interesting. After Fen Lin let go of his foot, he stepped on it again. "I really want to find the code of wealth. This should be pure iron. You should be able to make a lot of money selling iron." Fen Lin started to step on the steps and the javelins kept shooting. In the end, there were more than 100 javelins piled up here. He was really bored, so he took one and continued walking inside. Wow! Suddenly, a burst of arrows flew from the side. Fen Lin didn't even look at it and began to resonate with light and darkness. Blah blah blah. Bright energy and dark energy circled around his body, and all the arrows shattered into pieces after approaching it. Fen Lin couldn't help but yawn. This was too boring. Buzz. After the arrow passed, a small black insect flew out of the small cave high above the sun and it ran towards Fen Lin. But before it came into contact with Fen Lin, it turned into dust and fell to the ground. Fen Lin hummed a small tune, put one hand in his pants pocket, held the javelin in the other, and walked forward calmly. In the end, these little insects lost confidence and were scared into flying back to their nests. There can't be anything exciting. Fen Lin was walking when he suddenly stopped and found a throne in the middle of the road in the distance. Sitting on it was a man covered in bandages, like a mummy. Fen Lin carefully sensed that this was a breathless corpse. When Fen Lin reached the corpse, he moved. The corpse suddenly stood up and rushed towards Fen Lin. Fen Lin's expression did not change at all. He raised his javelin and aimed at the opponent's body. Brush. The javelin penetrated his chest and a dark liquid gushed out from inside. It turns out that the insects controlled the body. Fen Lin took out his javelin and made a golf gesture. Boom. The javelin hit the waist of the corpse, and its body flew directly and hit the wall 100 meters away. Fen Lin continued to walk forward and the road was smooth. Small obstacles arise from time to time, but they are not popular. Suddenly, Fen Lin looked into the distance and the originally spacious road became narrow again. This time it was only 1 meter wide and about 50 meters long, with a huge circular area. The circular area, about 100 meters in diameter, is surrounded by a bottomless abyss. It looks like sand. Circular area. Fen Lin took out the map and looked at it. The circular area was marked on it. This was already the second half. There is only a third of the way to the finish line. Fen Lin walked along the 1 meter wide path and walked towards the huge circular area. Suddenly, Fen Lin looked up at the sky and a strong man in armor fell from a high place. Boom. His body fell to the ground. Fen Lin observed carefully and found that this man looked like an ancient general. In addition to the armor, he also wears a black helmet. But the exposed face and palms looked like skeletons without flesh and blood. However, this man is still alive. "Excuse me, King Xi," the other party's voice was like metal friction, which made people shudder. Buzz. This strong man's eyes glowed red, and his hands and the inside of his armor also radiated light. Penetrated. Fen Lin raised his eyebrows in surprise. The meridians were penetrated and the source energy could not only gush out from his eyes. It can also gush from every pore of the body along the meridians. The standard way to penetrate the realm is to have light on the body. The opponent's figure suddenly flashed and quickly appeared in front of Fen Lin. "Although your realm is enough, your ki is far from enough." Fen Lin threw that javelin forcefully. The tip of the javelin was in the center of the strong man's armor. Oh! The strong man's body flew backwards, and when he was about to fall into the abyss, his body suddenly sank and squatted on the ground. He inserted a hand into the stone slab and held his ground. Interesting, was that a skill just now? You can change the trajectory in the air. Fen Lin looked surprised. He smiled, took a step forward, and his figure suddenly disappeared. In an instant, Fen Lin appeared behind the strong man and kicked his armor. Boom. The strong man's body flew out again, and when they reached the edge of the abyss again, his body sank again and landed on the ground. He raised his head and looked at Fen Lin, only to stop. Found that Fen Lin in the distance had disappeared from his sight. This is a good move, can you teach me? Fen Lin's voice rang in his ears. The strong man immediately walked away and found Fen Lin close and said in a low voice, "How strong?" "He's obviously talented, but his speed surpasses my perception." "Powerful, it's just speed." "Come on, before Second Master taught me how to kill, he first taught me how to escape." Fen Lin squatted on the ground with a smile. "Senior, let's not fight, it's boring." "Well, I can't beat you." Strong man nodded heavily and sat cross-legged on the ground. "How old is the eldest and why is he still alive?" Fen Lin asked. "The sun doesn't see the light here, and I don't know when, but based on the number of Gu divisions in my body, I'm probably in more than 400 years old." The strong man's voice was very harsh, making people feel uncomfortable. "Awesome, immortal." Fen Lin was surprised. Haha, how is it possible? I can survive now, it's all thanks to my Gu. My heartbeat is caused by Gu's help. My flesh and blood have been devoured by Gu. To keep me alive, my Gu would rather be hungry. Even if you die, you will not eat my heart organs. Neither Gu nor I can live long, guarding the Master's tomb for 400 years is enough. When Fen Lin heard the strong man's heroic words, he couldn't help but admire him, and even more so his Gu. Perhaps his Gu already possesses spiritual intelligence. You are so young and have such strength. Why are you here? The strong man spoke a lot, and his voice gradually became more competent and no longer breathy like before. Searching for immortal Gu and helping the Lord of the Underworld, Lin, Fen Lin briefly explained the reason why he came here. I see, but I disappoint you. There is no immortality Gu here. The strong man shook his head. I knew it. Fen Lin smiled and shrugged, just like the first time he asked Lin. Since he had immortality Gu, why did he die when he the founder? You didn't understand. Immortal Gu exists, but he is not here. I can't tell you the secret. The strong man shook his head gently. There are no treasures inside the copper coffin, only the accessories and books that the owner once liked. Haha, I just want to laugh when I see them trying so hard. So as not to get anything in the end. Fen Lin stood up and said respectfully, Senior, do you want me to take you to SeaWorld for in 100 years? No, I want to ask you something, but I need a simple test. The strong man raised his left hand, and a point of golden light flew out of his palm, which looked like a grain of sand. Afterwards, after the spotted light flew out, it instantly reached Fen Lin's left hand. Senior, have you poisoned me? Fen Lin quickly shook his hand without any pain. Chapter 221 The central area of the cemetery. It's not a poison. If you feel it carefully, you should be able to detect its existence, the strong man said to Fen Lin. Fen Lin nodded, closed his eyes and felt carefully, and sure enough, he found a power that did not belong to him in the palm of his left hand. What is this? Fen Lin asked strangely. It is the mother body of the Saint Gu that the Master gave me. In the past hundreds of years, I have met 6 people in total, but they all failed. Finally, I found the right person. The strong man raised his right hand again, and dots flew out of his palm. The red light was similar to the golden light from just now. But there are 6. What is this? Fen Lin asked. This is the Ashes Holy Gu, a male and a female, a total of 3 pairs. To understand it simply, only the mother's body survives, the Ashes Holy Gu can't survive. The strong man took a deep breath. The body remains in your body, Ashes Holy Gu, you can take out a pair and give them to the current head of Huang Quan. In other words, can I control Ashes Holy Gu? As long as I kill the mother's body, Ashes Holy Gu will die, Fen Lin asked strangely. Yes, but I hope you don't kill him. You only need to control the mother's body, and a single thought can call the Saint Gu back to you. The strong man smiled. 400 years of Ashes Saint Gu was enough for someone to master. On the one hand, the remaining 2 pairs, 1 pair you are yourself and the other pair you can give to others. Senior, if you give me the Gu, right? I have lived long enough, I have wanted it for a long time. I feel relieved, but I can't bear to have the Saint Gu that the Master gave me be destroyed. Since I found someone who was destined, I naturally have dissent. The strong man raised his right hand and his voice became more and more lower. Please do one thing, don't let those people bother the teacher. The quiet of the cemetery. Okay, I promise you, it will scare away those people. Fen Lin nodded solemnly. This person is a person. It was very easy to hand over such precious psychic glue to a stranger like him. Haha, thank you. The strong man grabbed Fen Lin's left hand and said softly, "Go, children." The red light spot in his hand entered Fen Lin's hand. When all the points of light fell on Fen Lin's left hand, the strong man also lost his heartbeat and the raised hand fell. Fen Lin felt his left hand carefully and could clearly feel 6 dark red light spots surrounding the golden light spot. I heard from Second Master that a powerful Gusint needs to be fed with Qi and blood. After that, the Gusint will return more powerful Qi to the host. Fen Lin covered his left hand with his power. The golden light spot in the palm of my hand lit up instantly. Fen Lin could clearly feel that the blood vessels in his entire left hand were throbbing madly. As the golden array gradually became saturated, a powerful power was released and spread throughout Fen Lin's body along his meridians. The original 6 red light spots absorbed the power emitted by the mother body and became more and more red. From ordinary red to intense red and finally to black. This feeling. Fen Lin's face burst with ecstasy, and he immediately clenched his fists and circulated all the Qi in his body. Boom. The circular area under his feet began to crumble and collapse. Call. Fen Lin's left eye flashed red and then Fen Lin slowly opened his right eye. Call. His right eye glowed dark blue. Give me some face, brother. Fen Lin murmured, and as his power exploded more and more, his body trembled violently. 2 different types of Qi collided in his body. Fen Lin gritted his teeth, feeling like every inch of his skin hurt. Boom. Finally, countless powers gushed out from the pores. Suddenly, all the meridians of the body become clear. The left side of Fen Lin's body was flashing with red light and the right side of Fen Lin's body was flashing with blue light. It's strange, where is my voodoo? Fen Lin looked carefully and found that the voodoo in his palm had disappeared. After searching carefully, I noticed that they were all hidden on the tip of the little finger of my left hand. He seemed to be shaking there. Everyone's Qi emits a different light according to their destiny and constitution. The life of the metal corresponds to white and gold. The corresponding colors of wood like cyan and green. The water is blue and black. The fire is red and purple. Finally the ground is yellow and brown. Men Chang's life structure belongs to gold and the color of his Qi is golden. But Fen Lin has 2 destiny, one is fire and the other is water. The 2 powers are not yet integrated. As long as they explode at the same time, the power will not increase but decrease. So when Fen Lin was fighting, almost everyone had one eye closed and only one eye was shining with some kind of light. He doesn't pretend, because when 2 forces appear at the same time, it will weaken. Grandmas, the powers have not yet been fused. Fen Lin raised his hands, the left side emitted an intense red light, and the right hand emitted a dark blue light. It would be nice if they could fuse together so that their power could be multiplied by 2. Forget it, the things in front of you are still important. Fen Lin bowed respectfully to the strong man in front of him. In any case, it was him who allowed Fen Lin to break through the divine aperture and enter the Meridian realm. After that, Fen Lin took him off the high platform, continued moving forward, and found a piece of land on the side. Fen Lin buried him here and finally cut out a stone slab as a tombstone. After hesitating for a long time, Fen Lin only wrote 5 words. Unknown guardian of the tomb. After finishing, Fen Lin looked at the map and continued to delve deeper. There were some glue insects along the way, but for Fen Lin who had broken through the realm, they were all in vain. The only advantage of this map is that there are no detours. As for traps and glue insects, the divine orifice can easily enter. The last few hundred meters Fen Lin looked at the map, turned off his phone, and walked down the stone steps. Below was the central area at the bottom. At the same time, Jia and Lan followed everyone and Huaikuan and arrived at the end. In the deepest stone chamber here, there are several luminous pearls embedded in the mouths of several stone dragons. Next to it is a stone table and 4 stone chairs. On top were several jugs of wine. Beyond that, only a coffin remains. The coffins were also bland and lacked the elaborate patterns found on coffins found in the tombs of kings. It's just a flat coffin with a hexagonal slot on top. At this time, Zhang Ran and Mr. Wang, who had the map, also walked in. Zhang Ran saw the people here and said in a deep voice, "Mr. Wang, you haven't arrived yet. Are you with him?" Miao Wanshen, the 5th elder of Huanquan, looked at Zhang Ran. "No, we took the first path and he took the second path," Zhang Ran explained. "What? Is that kid looking for death? The second path is the shortest. There's no agency mark. Even fools know that there are many dangers," Miao Wanshen shouted angrily. Kaiki Okiao's face next to him also seemed a little abnormal. "Magd. If that kid dies inside, won't we be able to get the treasure?" Liang Xiangwen, the 13th evil of the 9 Nethers, cursed secretly without caring about his elegant temperament. This time they spent a lot of money to get the fragments. It would be a shame if they returned in vain. While everyone was chatting, Fen Lin's figure emerged from a dark place in the distance. Boy. You're finally here. Hand over the fragments quickly. Miao Guangxue said sharply. Chapter 222 Despair. Liang Xianwen also showed a slight smile. As long as the copper coffin is opened, the treasures will be taken care of according to his own abilities. Fen Lin lowered his head and took out the fragments from his body. He was a cautious person. If, according to the past, someone said that there was no treasure in the copper coffin, Fen Lin would definitely open it and look at it with his own eyes. But this time, he decided to follow his previous superior's last wish. What are you doing standing? Hurry up. Liang Xianwen also took out 2 fragments from his pocket and urged him coldly. Fen Lin clapped his hands and crumpled the fragments into a ball. A silvery liquid appeared inside the fragments. After landing on the ground, it disappeared. I think this is what's special about fragments. If they were 3D printed, it still wouldn't work. Brat. What are you doing? You're crazy. Miao Guangxue looked in shock and roared angrily. Kiao also opened her mouth in surprise. Didn't Fen Lin promise her master to help her achieve immortality Gu? Is it because he is afraid that immortality Gu will fall into the hands of others? Thinking of this, Kiao nodded secretly. This is also a way. Miao Guangxue is the 5th elder of Huaiqu and entered the divine realm many years ago. As for the 13 earthly demons and the 9 others, their strength should be more or less the same. In the hands of the 2 of them, it is simply impossible to capture immortal Gu. Since you can't get it from your side, the best way is to destroy it. Boy. You are looking for death. Liang Xianwen looked murderous, stepped on the ground, and appeared in front of Fen Lin in the blink of an eye. A dagger came out of his sleeve and slashed at Fen Lin's neck mercilessly. Mr. Wang. Zhang Ran shouted immediately. But it was still a step too late because it happened too fast. Kiao also looked in disbelief. He had just entered the master realm. My eyes saw it, but my body couldn't keep up with the movements at all. Doorbell. A crisp sound stimulated the nerves of everyone present. Fen Lin simply raised an index finger to block the dagger. Impossible. Liang Xianwen's pupil suddenly shrank. How could this boy block his attack? Call. His eyes burst into orange light and the energy in his body exploded to its limit. He turned his body and struck Fen Lin's neck with a dagger from another direction. Doorbell. There was another crisp sound. Still a finger. However, this time it was changed from the index finger to the little finger. Shock. The hearts of the people around him stirred huge waves. What is going on? This is a master in the divine orifice realm. Is there a reason for this? Kiao's little mouth can open wide enough to fit an apple. Fen Lin is so strong. She had always thought that Fen Lin was on the same level as her. Zhang Ran was dumbfounded when he saw this. I was really naive. He had warned Fen Lin before, fearing that he was in danger and wanted to scare him. She blushed just thinking about it. Fen Lin grabbed Liang Xianwen's suit and kicked him. Boom. His suit shattered and his body flew out, hitting the stone wall behind him hard. Fen Lin picked up 2 fragments of his torn suit and crumpled them again into a ball. He walked towards Miao Guangxue without any expression and held out his hand. Miao Guangxue's body trembled a little. He took out the fragments from his body and handed them to Fen Lin tremblingly. Just as Fen Lin was about to catch him, a cloud of green smoke floated out of the opponent's hand. Oh! Miao Guangxue immediately ran towards the exit. The corners of his mouth raised, and as he ran, a line of blood appeared on his neck. Faga. Blood spurted out wildly. He looked in disbelief and fell to the ground. Everyone present did not dare to breathe, including Zhang Ran and Kiao who knew Fen Lin. Fen Lin calmly approached, took out the fragments, and crumpled them into a ball again. The liquid inside fell to the ground and disappeared. I know the Lord of the Underworld, you can go. Fen Lin looked at Kiao and the others. Remember, don't disturb the peace of the first generation in the future. Kiao opened her mouth, but she didn't say anything. She just looked at the others. Let's go. Watching them leave, Fen Lin looked at Zhang Ran again. You can go too. Mr. Wang, let's go. Zhang Ran looked at the people. Around him a rickety old man. Before leaving, Zhang Ran looked at Fen Lin again and remembered that Fen Lin was not wearing a mask. Is it some big shot? Senior, I didn't mean to offend you. Liang Xianwen stood up from the ground. He and Miao Guangxue were old acquaintances and had the same strength. They all crossed the initial stage of divine aperture and entered the middle stage. Miao Guangxue couldn't survive a single move in the opponent's hands, so naturally he was the same. Don't be so respectful, we should get to know each other. Fen Lin took off his mask and hat and showed a simple smile. Lian Xianwen's face suddenly turned pale. Dr. Death. Hearing this title, the other members of the Nine Nethers trembled in fear. It turned out to be the legendary Dead Knight #1. Guess if you can make it out alive today. Fen Lin took out a black scalpel from the metal front of his belt. He inserted his index finger into the end ring and twisted it slightly. Lian Xianwen stepped back nervously, and before he could take a few steps back, he collided with a stone wall behind him. In this small space, he had no chance of escape. Regarding the information about the members of Dead Knight, Jia Land has just been updated. This was the first-hand information that Liu Nian obtained when he was undercover on the night of his death. The next day gang. The leader of Death Knight, the Death Doctor. Specialized in medical skills and assassination. The peak of divine acuity. The speed is extremely fast, and when facing masters of the same level, it can kill instantly. You can easily escape the penetrating interface without getting hurt. Heptars. Lian Xianwen suddenly threw back his head and left. He shrugged. Sorry, I thought about it for a moment and I really can't think of how to get out alive. The remaining members of Jia Land looked even more desperate. I need information about Jia Land. As long as you can tell me, I will let you go. As soon as Fen Lin finished speaking, Lian Xianwen suddenly became angry. But he was not attacking Fen Lin, but other members of Jia Land. Swish, brush, brush. All the people around him fell to the ground with blood coming out of their mouths. As expected of the Jia Land evil spirit, it is so ruthless. Fen Lin narrowed his eyes and killed other people at this moment. Even if he lied, Fen Lin wouldn't know the truth. These people are not deeply involved in the world and cannot withstand interrogations. Lian Xianwen leaned against the stone wall and asked with a smile, Say, can we chat before we die? Where is the address of the Nine Nether? Fen Lin asked. I can't say that I am doing it for your own good. Don't say that you are a divine orifice. Even if you have broken through the realm, at best you will only be among the top 10 levels of earthly evil, let alone a leader. Strongest sect, Lian Xianwen said lightly. You know Yunnan, right? Fen Lin asked. Yunnan. Our second sect's Liu family lineage is no longer viable. If it hadn't been for the 9th penetration round to suppress the situation, it would have disappeared long ago. At this point, Lian Xianwen suddenly he raised his eyebrows. I remembered, yes, she used to be an undercover agent of Dead Knight. Haha, no wonder you mentioned her. Fen Lin took a few steps forward and approached Lian Xianwen. If I exchange your life for Yunan's, your second sect will be the sect master, do you agree? Chapter 223 I gave you a chance. Lian Xianwen's expression gradually became serious. Maybe this is my hope for survival, but I don't know the master's plan. It seems that this method is feasible, Fen Lin sneered. This time, he must kill her, for Lao Liu takes revenge. Lian Xianwen didn't say anything. As long as he could get out of this sealed place, he would have many more ways to escape. How strong is Liu Nian? Fen Lin remembered the message Liu Nian sent him. He once said that his strength was no longer weaker than his own. I don't know, Liu Nian is a very low-key woman and her talent has always been in computers. Lian Xianwen shook his head. Fen Lin sneered again and again, he hit it too deeply. It seems that her goal is to become the leader of the second sect. Only by becoming the type of person can you realize your dream. He once said he liked power. Okay, let's let this be. Let's go out and contact the sect immediately. Fen Lin just finished speaking and stopped Lian Xianwen again. What's wrong? Do you regret it? Lian Xianwen asked. No, I think it's better to be careful. Take out your mobile phone and make a call here. If it goes out, it is very likely that you will exchange an innocent person's life for your own. There is no signal here. Lian Xianwen took out his mobile phone. Used my mobile phone to call. Fen Lin's mobile phone is made by the state and has the function of a satellite phone. He took out Lian Xianwen's mobile phone card and inserted it into his mobile phone. Call Shanghai's contact and it will be able to notify your sect leader, Lian Xianwen said calmly. Fen Lin found the contact person Zhou and used his number to call him. After a while, a middle-aged man's voice came from the opposite side. Master 13. Shanghai okay, notify him immediately and ask him to call me, Lian Xianwen said to the mobile phone. Yes. Then I'll hang up first and let Mr. call you. After saying this, Shanghai hung up the phone. Are they the two great men you call the second earthly evil? Fen Lin asked. Yes, the first Disha is from the first sect, but the second Disha and the third Disha are both from our second sect, Lian Xianwen explained. Fen Lin nodded secretly. No wonder everyone said that the strength of the second sect was close to that of the first sect. After waiting here for a long time, Fen Lin's cell phone rang. Fen Lin immediately contacted Haha. Did you get the treasure? A hoarse male voice came from the other side. Brother, I'm sorry, I was about to receive it, but the death doctor appeared and now I am in his hands, Liang Xiangwen said helplessly. That. The voice on the other side was a little louder. Yes, your brother is in my hands. If I want him to live, we can discuss the terms, Fen Lin said expressionlessly. Haha, it's interesting, tell me, the man in front said sharply. Use Liu Nian's life in exchange for your brother's life. Fen Lin got straight to the point. Liu Nian. I remembered that she was once an undercover agent of the Night of Death, so you hold a grudge. The voice on the other end paused, wait for me 10 minutes. After hanging up the phone, Fen Lin sat down here and waited patiently. At the same time, Kaikioqiao and others had already left the cemetery. Zhang Ran looked at the old man next to him and said with a smile, Mr. Wang, do you think that person is controlled by Gu? I don't know. Gu cultivators have many unknown abilities, and I can't. Don't tell him. Mr. Wang shook his head. Kaikioqiao was surprised when he heard this. Maybe it's possible. Little sister, do you think so too? Zhang Ran walked towards Kaikioqiao with a smile. Maybe Kaikioqiao didn't say it in detail. Fen Lin's power suddenly increased. The simplest and most direct way was to fuse Gu. Little sister, I'm leaving first. Are you ready to go back? Zhang Ran asked with a smile. No need. Kaikioqiao shook her head. Zhang Ran didn't say anything else and took Mr. Wang away. Kaikioqiao looked at the people around her. Go back now and inform the Council of Elders and my master that the fifth elder was killed by a mysterious man. Miko. Many of the disciples behind him were eager to leave immediately. After everyone left, Kaikioqiao jumped to a high branch and waited for them to close the forest. Inside the cave, the bell finally rang. Fen Lin's phone. He immediately answered the call. How are you doing? Do you agree? The person on the other side was silent for a moment and then said, the sect leader said that he wanted Liu Nian and Liang Xiangwen. The sect leader has already sent you your death. After saying that, the other party hung up. Put down the phone. Not only Fen Lin, but also Liang Xiangwen were confused. He couldn't believe that the sect leader would ignore a 13-year-old evil spirit for the sake of a woman. Haha, your sect master wants you to die, but I don't want you to die. Just answer a few questions and I'll let you go. Fen Lin raised his finger. First, your Jiaoworth headquarters is here. Where? Brush. Liang Xiangwen's dagger stabbed into the neck without hesitation. His body fell on the spot. When he was dying, he said in a dull voice, the god of the 9 netherworlds, stay with me. After saying that, he fell down. Fen Lin couldn't believe that this was a master in the divine orifice realm and that others would not respect him wherever he went. In fact, he decided to commit suicide only because the leader of the sect granted him death. Fen Lin also felt his heart tremble, wondering what he was facing. For the first time, I have the feeling that I am too weak. Fen Lin shook his head slightly and turned to leave. He took the second route because it would get him back to the ground faster. Arriving at the circular area, Fen Lin discovered that there were many people here. It was Yan Yuansha who opened the mountain palace. The Caitian palace where Yan Yuansha was located did not have a map, so he chose the second path. Boy, what's going on ahead? Well, it's you. Yan Yuansha observed carefully and found that Fen Lin was wearing a black windbreaker, and his figure and height were exactly the same as the previous person. Yes, it's me. Fen Lin nodded expressionlessly. Haha. Brat, no one can save you now, right? Yan Yuan laughed sarcastically. He waved his hand, pointed at Fen Lin and shouted, kill him. Kill him. No. Someone save me. Do you think I need someone to save me? Fen Lin frowned slightly. He had already given her a chance, and since he didn't appreciate her, don't blame himself for being ruthless. Are you scared and confused? Take action. Then I will act. Fen Lin's voice rang in Yan Yuan's ears. Brush. Blood splashed and his arm flew away. That. Everyone in the Caitian palace looked surprised and quickly backed away in fright. Yan Yuanshao covered his arms in disbelief. He was so jealous that he growled. Brat, we open the mountain temple in cooperation with the state. How dare you touch me? Scare me. Fen Lin waved his hand again. Yang smiled as her other arm flew out. Ah. Yan Yuanshao cried out in pain. Even if he could survive now, he would be crippled for the rest of his life. Continue. Fen Lin looked at him expressionlessly. When facing ancient warriors, there are not so many rules and regulations, just kill them if you want. Yan Yuan didn't dare to laugh anymore, he was so scared that his expression was dull. I didn't expect to meet such a cruel person. You will die if you don't speak. Fen Lin kicked him out. His body flew tens of meters upside down and landed in the abyss outside the circular area, where echoes of screams rang out. Spare your life. Spare your life. This matter has nothing to do with us. Yes, we don't provoke you. The remaining people in the Cation Palace were so scared that they all knelt down, in fear. On their faces. Chapter 224. Zhu Ruan is very swollen. They didn't expect this person to be so strong. The key is to be ruthless. Fen Lin was too lazy to talk nonsense with these people, and he rolled up his sleeves and left. It was difficult to catch the big fish in Jialand, but I didn't expect him to commit suicide easily. However, this trip to the cemetery was the only one that got the treasure. It was a trip that was worth it. All the way outside, Fen Lin did not meet Sui or the others. Maybe they took the other two paths. However, Fen Lin only knew the other party and there was no need to help her. Fen Lin. Kai Kiao, who was sitting high up, jumped down from the branch and approached Fen Lin. Fen Lin said with a smile, I killed you, fifth elder, you shouldn't blame me, right? No, it would be better if all the elders in charge of the Presbyterian Council died. Kai Kiao pursed her lips. Viciously. I think I know why you did that. At first, Kai Kiao simply felt that Fen Lin could not defeat them. Destroying the remaining pieces is the best option. It was later discovered that Fen Lin was just killing them for fun, so destroying the fragments was not normal. I met an elder who was the guardian of the tomb of the first lord of the underworld. He told me that there was no immortality glue inside. Fen Lin put his hands in his trouser pockets and walked down the mountain. Kai Kiao jumped onto Fen Lin's shoulders and listened quietly. I didn't expect such a foolish and loyal person to be hiding there. You mean he gave you some kind of secret glue? Kai Kiao asked. Yes, it's called Ash's Holy Glue. I won't go back to you. Give this pair of holy gus to Kai Lin. Fen Lin raised his head and looked at Kai Kiao. Kai Kiao took off her rabbit backpack, took out her mobile phone, and sent a message to Kai Lin. Not long after, Kai Lin called, her voice extremely excited. Give Fen Lin your cell phone. Fen Lin, my teacher's phone number. Kai Kiao obediently brought the cell phone to Fen Lin's ear. Say, Fen Lin said calmly. Did you say that Ash's Holy Glue exists? Kai Lin asked in a deep voice. Well, I will give it to Kai Kiao and ask her to give it to you. Fen Lin nodded. No, I'll go there myself. Kai Lin said in surprise. He didn't expect that the ashes of one of the four saints still existed in the world. The Holy Ash Glue was second only to the Immortal Glue. If he can possess the Holy Ash Glue, his strength will definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Okay, then go to Yun City to find me. Fen Lin said on the phone. I'll think of a reason to convince the Presbyterian Council to come find you. After Kai Lin finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Fen Lin didn't care, this time he had to rely on his blessing to enter the Breakthrough Realm. What's more, since he came to find him, Fen Lin had nothing to lose. Fen Lin, if it's okay, I'll go back. Maybe in a few days I'll accompany them. Asked her to look for you. When they reached the foot of the mountain, Kai Kiao jumped off Fen Lin's body. Okay, goodbye. Fen Lin didn't stop here, he immediately went to the station and bought a ticket to Yun City. Back to Yun City, it was already getting dark. Fen Lin arrived at the villa area and found that everyone here was as usual. But in comparison, several of Jinggu Jiok's servants were all wrapped in bandages. It should be the injury that Liu Nian received when he snatched Yi Dan. Boss, are you back? Jinggu Jiokui was watching a TV series with Yan Yuebai. When he saw Fen Lin come in, he immediately stood up and saluted. Yes, Fen Lin smiled and nodded. Shit. This young man, shit. Men Chang Shen, who was playing chess, raised his eyes, looked at Fen Lin, and couldn't help but exclaim in shock. Heh. Fen Lin walked over with a smile and sat on the armrest of Aries' wheelchair, realizing that it was an unfamiliar feeling. He asked strangely, why did you change the wheelchair? That one is broken. Men Chang Shen picked up the cigarette bag and couldn't help but shook his head. Hey, you old, young people are too bad. I believe it. Ghost, your battled man is so bad. Fen Lin couldn't help but laugh. He continued to look at Yi Dan in front of him. Currently, it seems that she is very important to Liu Nian. Be sure to keep an eye on her from now on. Fen Lin understood Liu Nian will definitely rock Yi Dan again at an unexpected time. Fen Lin sat here chatting for a while and then returned to Zhu Ruan's villa. After a while, a tremor was heard at the door of the villa. Fen Lin, who was lying on a sofa, sat up and was in the middle of Minjin. This little trash dares to barge into the villa. He was about to get up and teach the other party a lesson when he found Zhu Ruan. What the hell? Fen Lin exclaimed. This breath fluctuation turned out to be her. How can it be? I have only been out for a day or two. It is no longer easy to master key, and it has actually entered. Are you drunk? Do you dare to ask me to serve you water? Fen Lin asked him. Fen Lin. I'm telling you, be polite when you talk to me from now on. Zhu Wang took out a walnut from the small box under the glass table. She shook it gently with one hand. Click. The nuts break into grunts. Fen Lin he couldn't help but roll his eyes. It turned out that he was an ancient warrior and was starting to swell. In fact, his guess was quite correct. Zhu Wang is very bloated from now on. That Fen Lin harassed her no longer existed. As for things like dating scumbag girls, she has already thrown him away. Why did she still obey Fen Lin when she became an ancient warrior? Hit him. Are you still thinking about other fiancés? Keep beating. Now that she is an ancient warrior, one hand is enough to deal with Fen Lin, a soldier. Pour me some water. Zhu Wang looked at Fen Lin admiringly. At first, she felt a little inferior when facing Fen Lin. It's different now. She doesn't need Fen Lin's protection, but she can still protect Fen Lin. Being the head of the family is not too much, right? Okay, I will give you some water. Fen Lin took Zhu Wang a glass of water from the water dispenser and placed it in front of her nose. It's wrong, behave well in the future. Zhu Wang looked cold and indifferent, picked up the cup and took a sip. When Fen Lin bullied him, they were all recorded in a notebook, and she planned to pay them back in the next few days. I'm hungry. Let's go cook. Fen Lin stretched and lay down on the sofa. Cook? Don't you have hands? Zhu Wang said expressionlessly. Now I have become an ancient warrior. How can there be any reason for an ancient warrior to cook? What the hell? Zhu Wang, you also went far away. If you hadn't eaten me, my baby, can you become an ancient warrior? Fen Lin also knew that Zhu Wang's meridians were different from ordinary people. However, without the blessing of Fire Lotus Seed, she would not have been able to enter this realm in such a short time. Zhu Wang had thought for a long time on how she could become an ancient warrior after being beaten by Liu Nian for no reason, but Zhu Wang is bloated. It's okay to cook, but be polite to me from now on, especially when your sleazy fiancés are close. You have to call me wife. After Zhu Wang finished speaking, she walked towards the kitchen humming a song. Take the time to call Lan Ru and teach her a lesson. Boss. At this moment, Jinguji Akane walked in with a smile. Seeing this, Zhu Wang immediately left the kitchen. Chapter 225 Elbow. Follow me to the house. What's wrong? Fen Lin asked strangely. I have an old man who resonates with me. His ability to repair injuries is not that strong. Look at him later. Jinguji Akane walked over, took Fen Lin's arm and said. Okay, Fen Lin nodded. The old man was injured, and his repair ability was not as good as the young man. Autumn. Zhu Wang coughed a few times and walked over with her arms crossed. By the way, boss, Liu Nian captured her the day and I rescued her. Jinguji Akane pointed to Zhu Wang and said. You're talking nonsense. The person who saved me was Mr. Meng. What does that have to do with you? Zhu Wang became angry when she talked about this incident. This stinky woman wanted to die there. Okay, stop arguing. Fen Lin looked at Zhu Wang helplessly. If you have nothing to do, please ask me for advice. I'm the master. Hey. Zhu Wang puffed her mouth slightly and entered the kitchen again. She also felt that becoming an ancient warrior and seeing a new world made her realize her own weakness more clearly. That day, when I saw Mr. Meng Shen's play, I was amazed. I also wanted to ask someone for advice, but I didn't know anyone there. Fen Lin took advantage of Zhu Wang's cooking time to go to the villa. The other side of the door and observed the old man's wound. And the ointment above it was found that the medicine was completely correct and should have been prescribed by her. However, it is far from the essence. Cook extracted the essence of all the medicinal materials for treating injuries and handed it to the old man. Apply the essence to the wound, which can be completely absorbed and obtain double the result with half the effort. Fen Lin returned to the villa. From Zhu Wang, he lay down on the sofa and carefully felt the poison on his left little finger. He currently has 3 pairs. Even if he gives 1 pair to Kai Lin, there will still be 2 pairs left. I was thinking who to give it to. Zhu Wang picked up all the food and looked at Fen Lin coldly. Eat. Fen Lin got up from the sofa with a smile and sat opposite Zhu Wang. Zhu Wang picked up the chopsticks and didn't move. He seemed to be thinking about something. After a pause of a few seconds, he looked at Fen Lin and said, Why are you with those ancient warriors? Thinking about this for a long time, especially in the sanctuary. CQ and others are obviously very strong, but they are called Boss Fen Lin. If you have never experienced a war, then you must have played a team game, in which a doctor, that is, an auxiliary, is indispensable. Fen Lin pointed his thumb at himself. I was their doctor and I saved them. Several times. Doctor. Zhu Wang nodded. Fen Lin's father was also a doctor, and his father also studied under an expert. It makes sense. No wonder Jinguji Akada is so hateful. Maybe Fen Lin hates him. Saved life, so he planned to give him life. Fen Lin lowered his head. Zhu Wang's current strength was too weak and he didn't know many things, but he lived comfortably. Is Yuna your fiancé? Zhu Wang suddenly thought of that stinky woman. In her entire life, she had never been beaten so brutally by other women. Especially when the other party kicked her downstairs. That feeling of dying, of not being afraid, is false. She is my enemy. Fen Lin was shocked and said calmly. I feel relieved now. Zhu Wang breathed a sigh of relief. The figure of that stinky woman was on par with hers. She was afraid that Fen Lin would see this fiancé and run away with her. I was relieved when I found out that they were enemies. Fen Lin asked, what are you worried about? I and you worry about me. To Fen Lin and said, go to my room after dinner. Fen Lin looked surprised, shouting, have you found out? Go to my room and you'll know. Zhu Wang sneered in her heart, thinking that she would become the teacher today, starting from the moment Fen Lin beat her. Let's settle Fen Lin's accounts properly. After eating and drink, Fen Lin collapsed on the sofa. Zhu Wang hummed a small tune and happily washed all the dishes. When everything was ready, she looked at Fen Lin and said coldly, elbow. Follow me to the room. Okay. Fen Lin got up from the sofa and followed Zhu Wang to her room. After entering, Zhu Wang closed the door and closed the window curtains. Fen Lin took off her coat and hung it on the nearby hanger. Then prepare to take off your belt. Stop. What are you doing? Zhu Wang turned around and saw Fen Lin's actions. Her face suddenly turned red. You obviously took the initiative. Didn't I say it before? I like being passive, Fen Lin said lightly. You're so passive, uncle, you're shameless. Zhu Wang stepped forward and appeared in front of Fen Lin in the blink of an eye. She grabbed Fen Lin's arm and dragged him to the quilt on the side. Then, he took off his shoes, sat on Fen Lin's back, and pressed Fen Lin's shoulders with his hands. Shouting, is my posture upside down? Fen asked. Lin strangely. Instead, Zhu Wang's pretty face was so red that it bled, and she hit Fen Lin on the back. Fen Lin closed her eyes and enjoyed it. It turned out that she knew that the trip was exhausting, and wanted to pat himself on the back. Zhu Wang felt that doing this would not serve to teach a lesson. How could he bear to use key? What if Fen Lin's small body was broken? Sat on the sofa next to her and looked at Fen Lin coldly. Wash my feet. I might as well give you a bath. Fen Lin turned around and winked at Zhu Wang. Stop talking nonsense. Wash my feet or I'll teach you a lesson. Zhu Wang untied her ponytail and shook her hair. With her hair down, she looked more feminine. Fen Lin lay down again. Then you better teach me a lesson. Do you really think that I dare not hit you? Zhu Wang stood up again. She remembered that Fen Lin had spanked her before, and this time he did the same. It's a lot of meat anyway. Forget it, I'm in a good mood today. I'll straighten your bones. Fen Lin put Zhu Wang on the bed and put his hands on her back. Click. Click. Zhu Wang suddenly shouted, and seemed to realize that her voice was not right and immediately blushed. I'm an old Chinese doctor. Most people don't get this kind of treatment. Fen Lin was very skilled at relaxing Zhu Wang's bones and joints. Zhu Wang was a little surprised. This feeling was very comfortable. A full 5 or 6 minutes passed, but Zhu Wang felt like she didn't want to move anymore and now just wanted to sleep. Fen Lin turned off the light, covered Zhu Wang with the quilt, and then walked in very skillfully. Zhu Wang's relaxed muscles and bones tensed again in an instant and she asked in a trembling voice, Fen Lin, be careful if I hit you. You can't beat me now. Stop talking nonsense and go to sleep. Fen Lin was also busy with his work. A lot of time has passed. Today I am going to sleep deeply and completely relax my body. Then you need a very soft pillow. The second master and the others are across the street, so there's no way anything could happen that would endanger their lives. Zhu Wang also had a busy day today and was sleepy after relaxing just now. Midnight to early morning. The window in this room shook slightly and a familiar figure jumped into the room. He got into Fen Lin's bed. End of this chapter. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This story is completely available on Patreon. I invite you to subscribe and enjoy all the content.